I feel like that's a lot of
just,
this is just the compassion and the goodness of people in and of itself as an example.
Yeah.
Means everything.
Yada, yada, yada. What ends up happening is a confrontation.
80 episodes, that's never happened. You can't yada, yada, yada. We have no show.
I'm trying to speed this up.
No.
I wonder too, though, because I think it's a little bit that thing
I've always
Luke
wanted
was.
to fuck.
How many stories are that great where you gotta go that deep?
That you can have 6 dudes sitting around drinking beer for 3 hours. They're
Smart
talking
and
about one
intelligent,
movie. Like,
beautiful men that I will never take it in the back anymore from.
this is episode 80, right?
Episode 80, yeah.
Hey, Long Walkers! Welcome to Long Walk Short Drink episode 80. Oh, yeah.
80 strong.
80.
As promised, this is the December episode of Long Walk Short Drink, recorded to you live from my pinball parlor in Dayton, Ohio. We have a full cast plus one cabin kid in the house. Welcome to Long Walk Short Drink.
Scoundrels.
Rise of the Skywalker episode.
Yes.
We've only been talking about it since the Last Jedi episode that we recorded in Des Moines.
Yes.
Oh man. So joining us live in my pinball parlor is me, Palmer.
It's me, Dave.
Misha. Krams.
Yeah, now we got to beat that. There's a beat right there.
Yeah. Twinkie. Double D.
All right.
Moto.
Podcasted to you from Dayton, Ohio. Oh, welcome everyone. Welcome.
If you're watching on YouTube, you can see Palmer's Pinball Parlor literally behind us.
Yep.
I'm very proud to be between Monster Bash and Jurassic Park.
Yeah. This is I really, man, it's awesome that you were so excited to incorporate these into the episode. I think it'll be a nice backdrop for sure.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah. So, looks great. So, welcome to Dayton, first off, everyone. Thanks for coming to my neck of the woods for this. I appreciate that. I know it is a difficult time of year to travel. This is being recorded on December. I still have movie mode on. December 20th, 2019 at approximately 10:15 p.m. after we just saw the 7:10 show.
11:15.
Oh, it's 11. Oh yeah, geez. Man, Palmer has obviously already had some beers.
We're gonna need Double D for all the facts.
Yeah, fact checker down there. Man, I was saying I was walking to the car and I was like, you know, Double D, I'm really glad you're here because you're the one that's like, you know what? That's bullshit, and here's why. It's great. Like, oh, I love it. Just like that. Like, actually, it's 11:15, sir. Fuck. All right, get my act together. So, welcome.
How about that movie?
Yeah, shit. So we've been on a moratorium, no talking
For like an hour or less, or we're still kind of in shock.
Yeah. I did have this vision that we were going to be like, okay, everybody talk. And there would just be this.
So you're strong with the force. Is what you're
And like nothing would happen. And we all just kind of stare off in the distance. Like, I don't know.
I loved it. I thought it was very entertaining. You go to the movies to be entertained. I was entertained.
It was entertaining.
It was emotional for me. I
Super
just
emotional.
wept through the whole damn thing.
Yeah, was I hearing you crying like when I looked
Maybe.
over that one time?
Probably.
Oh, geez.
Because I was, my nose was running, and I could pee at any time, so I did have to go about midway through to the bathroom. And when I was in there, I grabbed a bunch of toilet paper because
You knew it.
my nose had been running already, so I was like, this might help, and it still wasn't enough. It was really satisfying for me on many levels, which I'm sure we'll get into once we get past our initial shyness.
Yeah.
What about you, Krams? What are your initial impressions?
I loved it. I loved it as well. It's just.
Feel free to get on that mic.
I mean, it was a good time. It was a good time. Yeah, I mean, there were some moments where I was pulled out of it, but for the most part, it kept me in.
Many twists and turns.
Yeah.
Many surprises.
And in traditional Star Wars fashion, there was a lot to wrap up very quickly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I felt like it moved pretty quick.
It did,
Things were
Yeah.
moving along.
Yeah.
Me too.
It definitely felt longer than 2 hours and 20, because they jammed so much into it. Because we were commenting on how short the runtime was leading up to it. Sorry, let's continue down the line and get initial impressions.
Nothing much different than everybody else already said. Just there's a lot. When you're dealing with the legacy of Star Wars, there's a lot you have to put into a movie like this to give people a satisfying conclusion. And I mean, I'm sure we'll find some things to say that we'd like to see different, but for the most part, it was extremely satisfying.
Yeah.
Double D?
So far, we've been relatively spoiler free, but that will not stay.
That's
the way.
about to change. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you haven't seen it and are looking to be spoiler free, then now's the time to stop. I imagine. No, I found it enjoyable. There's definitely a few things that or some hang-ups here and there, of course, but
Cannot wait.
but overall, I was very pleased.
Yeah.
Awesome. Should we crack our beverages before we?
Yeah. Let's crack a beverage so we can just dive right in.
Setup took a little too long. I cracked mine.
That's all right. Just do the psh sound.
Yeah. All right.
All right. On 3 and 3.
Ooh.
All right.
Cheers,
Well
everyone.
done, Moto. That was a good one.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Practice. I've been finishing my training.
Yeah.
Like a good Jedi.
Jesus, with the damn Star Wars references.
Yeah.
to this
So,
kid.
Moto, tell us about your crash course in Star Wars that you undertook for this podcast.
Well, first I had to quit my job, and then
Priorities.
to have
Dedication.
every minute of every day to first watch the prequels, and then got A New Hope in, and then watched Empire and Return of the Jedi the next day, and actually fit Rogue One in per Twinkie's praise.
Wow.
It's like I need to get that in, and I really enjoyed that. And then got what's the first one? RISE of Sky. No, that's the one we just watched. The first one.
Oh, The
is
Force Awakens or the
Force
new
Awakens.
ones?
Yeah.
I got to watch that one, and then I had to rent Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Jerks. But it was worth it. It was worth that second, because I think that's the second time I've seen Last Jedi.
Yeah.
And man, I can't wait to watch this one again. It was great. I'm going to watch them all again.
Oh man.
Great.
We made a new Star Wars fan.
Absolutely.
This is fantastic. Oh, that's exactly what Star Wars should be. Is you should be able to share it so that other people get part of the cult. It's fantastic.
And Moto, had you seen? You probably had seen at least parts of all those, but were there any that you had never actually seen all the way through before of the?
None of the prequels previously.
How'd they hit you?
Well, it helped me understand more of the backstory, and I'm trying to anticipate what's coming. And Palmer's talked about the rhyming of the writing, and I'm trying to find the rhyming or whatever to. I wasn't strong enough with the Force to see it all, but it was great. I enjoyed the twists within this movie, and we'll definitely watch it again.
Awesome. And you were because when you were running down, we talked yesterday before you came down. you were like, I saw the prequels, don't jump down my throat. And like, you were like,
Because they don't exist in this house.
they don't, like, yeah, even.
Prequels do not exist in
Yeah.
this dojo.
They do not. But I can totally, just because I don't like them, I can totally respect why somebody would like them. And it seems like you really kind of find an appreciation for the prequels. Like you appreciate the backstory that you got from them.
Yes, I did find that helpful. I just didn't I didn't hold the original trilogy as high as everyone else did. Maybe I mean, I love that. I love classic rock. That's the way it struck me when I watched those. It struck me of the times, and when I watched the prequels, it struck me of the times. And look at the music of those times; it sucked too.
Yeah,
Digital's getting real strong with those. But man, the visuals with this last trilogy are just fucking gorgeous. The cinematography is so great, and the sound is so great. And I'm not smart enough to criticize the story enough, but I enjoyed it. I went in wanting to enjoy the ride, but they did a great ride.
Oh man, well, don't sell yourself short. I think you're doing a great job of critiquing.
Thank you.
This fucking cat cat doesn't sound on anybody's
Guest
lap.
star Mika.
She scorns laps. She's just like, I'm not that fucking kind of cat. Go fuck yourself. And she's all in Dave's grill, just like rubbing, just
cover my
like, you
junk.
slut, get out of here. Oh,
Well, I'm not quite sure how to move through it, but what do you guys think of trying to tag team the six of us, like move through the plot and then use that? Because there are people, believe it or not, that may not watch Star Wars, but like Long Walk, Short Drink.
Oh, do we want to tag team the saga all the way up to this one?
No,
I was gonna be like,
just this one.
Jesus, we'll be here till
Just
Sunday.
this one, just to help remember what happens, and also just to kind of give us a methodology to talk about the
pretty
things we
good at
like. And then others,
Well, so the crawl was really good in this one in establishing that not only has a sizable, a decent amount of time passed since Last Jedi, but some major plot points that this story relies on is in the crawl. Like,
didn't it start with like the dead speak exclamation point?
yeah. And it talked about how there was a broadcast from the Emperor that went out to all of the like known galaxy, and that spurned Kylo Ren searching for him. He's still in charge of the First Order, and that Kylo Ren is searching for him so that he can like destroy the threat to his power.
Yeah.
And
He's now supreme leader. No, sorry if you didn't already say that.
And Rey and the Resistance are kind of like on their own, hiding out, just because there's hardly any of them left. They're literally down to the last like 200.
They're recuperating.
Yeah,
basically.
yeah, and that's just the crawl. And that's a lot.
Yeah. Right,
That's a fucking lot.
Huge
Like
questions right away.
Yeah. So, and then it like true fashion, Mika.
Just in case, this seemed like a good position to like bat it off the table.
Cats are assholes.
She showed to be involved.
Yeah.
And then
Get her seat.
it opens up in a good like predicament, like Star Wars fashion, where they find that there's a spy in the First Order. Yeah. Right, and that's what the catalyst is that starts this whole thing going.
And that was kind of Finn, right? And Finn, because his name was F2 whatever. In the last movie, we kind of needed him as the in into like he was useful in getting information and like I know I mopped that room, like
yeah.
So we needed another one of those characters, which was a surprise.
Yeah. Well, and that's what clues them in. That's how they know that it is for a fact that Palpatine is alive. And
well, they have reason to suspect.
Yeah. Yes.
That it could be an old recording
Yeah.
or some sort of spirit thing or hologram or yeah.
And then quickly Kylo Ren find out that the Emperor is alive.
He's on a fucking mission.
Within like 5 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. Within the first 5
that's
minutes,
right.
like-
Because it opens with Kylo Ren just like beating at, like literally single-handedly
that's right.
taking out
Yeah.
an entire forest of what were they? The rebel fighters?
No, they were guards. It looked like
Guards.
they were guarding this thing, which ended up guiding him to like the Emperor, where he is slowly being recuperated and kept alive by this. That looked very Matrix. That thing that like kept him suspended. Yeah.
Yeah, that scene of Kylo Ren kicking ass in slow motion was astoundingly cool.
Yeah.
It was a great opening.
You could feel his fury.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I can't remember what happened. I can never remember what happens in movies. It's so upsetting.
That's the first scene.
I'm like, and then Weasley was the spy.
Kylo Ren is just about to kill him, and of course the Emperor does what
Yeah.
the Emperor does and makes him an offer he can't refuse, which is essentially,
A horse's
I
head.
have an entire fleet of Death Stars that can jump like a starship, and you can be the next Emperor, but you have to kill that girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to kill Rey.
You have to kill Rey,
Right.
and so that then changes. He's instead of him hunting the Emperor, he's hunting Rey.
Kind of, right?
Well, yeah, we really think he is, but he wants to turn Rey so that they can kill the Emperor.
He's working his Palpatine magic.
Yeah.
As he's done
Yeah.
Pulling the strings.
Sith Lord. Yep. Ever since the Senate. Watch the prequels.
Jar Jar Binks gave him that power. He's the one that cast the vote of no confidence. Made him the Emperor.
Rey's off training
Yes.
somewhere, some sort of forest kind of type planet. She keeps trying to connect with something. She's saying, be here with
Be
me.
with
Be
me.
with me. Yeah. I started to think towards the end, she just sort of means the force, right? May the force be with you. I don't know. What do you guys think she meant when she said that?
But they are the Force, right? I mean, they
The Jedi
carry the
Masters.
Force energy,
She's trying to connect with the
channel with their energy, right?
Yeah. Well, I do think, because it's right. The force is like, it's an energy field that binds us. It's all that. It's not like people.
Yeah.
It's everything.
But some of them do talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard an interesting thing going back through the Blu-ray set that came out in 2011. They do these commentaries for each movie that is cut together from archival interviews with all kinds of people. Like Sir Alec Guinness is on it, like little bits from the actors, everyone from the creative team. And I'm not even sure that it is George Lucas, it says, at some point, that basically the Force ghosts, I mean, he doesn't use that word, it's a unique, he just calls it becoming one with the Force. And he says it's a rare thing that very few people can achieve. And he said it had everything to do with their connection to Anakin when they show up at the end. But anyway.
They balance the Force. Spoiler alert, they balance the Force.
Yeah.
Yeah. They really do.
Do we care why the Emperor is still alive or not? We don't care about
Yeah,
that.
let's talk about.
curious.
Let's talk about that. Yeah.
I'm just out of curiosity. I don't.
Well, fuck that guy for one, but I do wonder how he got
Supposedly,
reanimated.
what he... Remember, Darth Plagueis was the one that
Do you see this? Do you see what we fucking made over here?
Jedi now. His training is complete.
could supposedly bring people back to life. And he was supposed to do that for Anakin. And I don't know why Darth Vader
To keep
didn't-
Padme alive, right?
didn't,
Yeah.
give up on him after he didn't follow through with what he said he would do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't think of the other name of the
Sidious?
Well, at that
Yeah,
point, Padme was
Darth
dead.
Sidious.
I guess he had nothing left.
Yeah.
Lucas was always talking about Vader as this like pitiful henchman.
Yeah.
In the
And he really was like, if you know the expanded universe, like there was a bunch of stuff that, like, Palpatine could have not made it so that he like that sound, that labored breathing sound, is actually him laboring for breath, and Palpatine could easily fix that, but he intentionally made his suit like that so that he sounded feeble and weak, and like when he was putting the suit on, I guess he could have like basically loaded him up with painkillers, essentially, so that he didn't feel any of that, but he made him feel all the pain of like putting the suit on, and he was an evil, twisted motherfucker, and he does give one line in that exchange with Kylo Ren where he's like, "I'm going to kill you," and he's like, "I've died before."
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So, and he looks like his eyes are milky, like he is
like he's blind
dead
or something.
Yeah, like a corpse, like a living corpse. I
Yeah.
feel like, and gross. Like he looked like a fish, you know, like he had that like wet texture, you know.
Okay.
Like,
Twinkie.
that's what he looked like.
Yeah. I don't want to talk about it, baby. Twinkie, what were you thinking? Or
Well, I don't
when you asked
know
the
enough
question,
to know about that. Other than,
had you given it thought?
well, I just kind of moved past it in order to just enjoy the
accepted it?
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I figured I would revisit it later with people who have a little more understanding of maybe what they were going for there. Like I didn't understand necessarily. He was obviously being kept
Alive.
I don't know if he was even alive or just animated or whatever.
Yeah.
Interesting.
With all the equipment there, but
It was weird too that he wanted to be killed by Rey in order for her to be emperor. Like for such a selfish prick, like what did he really get out of that?
well, it says they would be one against. I don't know if he.
His spirit would get to. I wonder if that was like supposed to be the equivalent of like the Sith Force Ghost. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like, because all of those things, like that was all the Sith. Like he said, if you strike me down, my energy will get to join you, and all of the Sith. Will
Oh,
get
that's
to
what he
join
was
you.
saying?
That's what he said.
Oh.
So like, I think that there was also a ritual to what was going on.
Yeah.
Like he because he's like, and she kneels before me, and she, like there were specific things that sounded like he needed her to do for this to have worked.
Well, do you think maybe he did all that to Darth Plagueis, and that's how he got his seat?
I think he was Darth Plagueis.
No, because he's Darth something else.
Sidious.
Sidious, yeah.
Yeah.
When Kylo went in to see him at the very beginning, and they like panned through as he was going to the Emperor, you could see Snoke and what was it,
and, like,
Anakin, like suspended in that.
Oh,
like, in
Anakin
the-
was in there too?
Yeah.
Oh shit, I
That's
missed
what
that.
that's what I saw.
I missed that.
Nice.
It
Shit.
seemed like there was
Oh,
multiple.
They're like
that
clones.
would mean he did make Anakin. You know, like
Oh yeah, grossly
oh
Wow.
grew him.
yeah. Oh
So deep.
yeah, fucking twisted. So
So when you first see the Emperor, I'm sorry to hop in. I was just remembering the order. It's fucking scary. I thought,
yeah,
like
it was no wonder that mom and that
Yeah,
little
they
girl
left.
because, and
I
I think it
missed
was,
that.
I think it was strictly
at the end of the
because
row. Yeah, they left early on.
I think it was strictly because of how scary Palpatine was.
I was scared.
Like,
This is the last Star Wars. Come on.
it was a monster. Like it was monster scary. It was like scary movie scary.
Even when they would do the like towards the end, like where they're back in that terrible place and like shooting, like you have this up angle on all the Star
that is
Destroyers.
gorgeous.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
just like when the bride and I would watch
Yeah.
like Stranger Things, I would always when the mind flare and all that would like fill the sky. I hate that. I found it so scary. I would just go hellscape. I'm so scared of hellscapes, and there were some terrifying ones in this.
Man, yeah, no, that one was it was legitimately like, and his fingers are all like rotten, you know, and
Yeah.
like deteriorated. I think those compasses, there was only 2 of them, right? And one of them was in the wreckage of the Death Star that fell in the fight from Return of the Jedi,
Right.
Which was also where Palpatine died.
Yeah.
So it would make sense that he could have been recovered from that wreckage.
Oh, sure.
And then they placed the compass there.
Who is the they?
He had a whole troop of
Yeah, who
minions
the
working
fuck were
on
they?
it. You know what? Like,
Yeah.
Like an army of. It was like a big audience.
so he had.
Well, I think that those were the spirits of all the past Sith. I think.
Oh well.
I
well,
mean-
then maybe that's how he controls death. You know, like
Yeah.
he's able to command
There's something
those spirits.
about the thunderstorm, the constant thunderstorm on Exegol that allows him to stay hidden
Yeah.
beyond all the
Well,
needing the compass to get through all the magnetic fields.
Oh.
That's how he was able to hide from the Force and
So the energy fields that keep that place hidden create also that
And there's
electricity.
definitely a magic portion of this that like we keep trying to science it, but the Force is like all magic too. So
The midichlorians disagree.
oh shit!
So,
Oh, I'm sorry. Those don't exist in my world.
I did love, this is just a quick aside because we're going through the plot or whatever, but all the I don't want to say digs, but rebuttals from things from past movies.
Yeah.
Like they were pretty blunt and
Such
just
as-
saying that was
like,
stupid. Like
past
midichlorians,
critiques.
like there was a whole line
They
about
mention it?
some things are stronger than blood.
Oh,
at the end. And then it's
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
All right.
yeah.
I felt too there was a lot of digs to like critiques of, especially critiques
Yeah.
of the last two movies.
Yep.
In the saga where they just took care of them real quick. Well, this is why, or like, you know what I mean? There was one that really stood out to me, and it escapes me right now, which is frustrating.
But that stuff, those things also kind of took me out of the movie.
Yeah. No,
Because it
that's
brought me back into the just Star Wars fandom,
the
toxic bullshit. And I was just like, now I'm starting to think about this as a critic. And I
Exactly.
want to get back in. So,
Well, excuse me.
yeah, so back to the plot.
Yeah, back to the plot. So
We're in like the 15th minute, not even.
Yeah, well,
I mean, all
so
of this
we got to where she's training with Leia.
Yeah.
And that brings up the first thing I want to talk about because I thought they did this is something that we really harp on in these. I'm thinking back to Grand Moff Tarkin in Rogue One was really poorly executed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It didn't look very good. How did you feel about all of the Carrie Fisher stuff that they used?
I felt pretty good. I was I heard that they would never make her like CGI or whatever.
Yep.
And I heard
Yeah.
that they were working from existed cut scenes. And very early on, I was like, this is more than just that, unless they just started filming immediately. So whatever they did was did not draw too much attention to itself for me, who is very force sensitive to that kind of thing.
There was a lot. I noticed there was an excessive use of the over her shoulder shot where it was a body double, basically. And that started to become a little obvious in the back and forth with her and Rey. But all the other, like...
But you can identify where in especially Force Awakens where a lot of that footage came from. This was an alternate take or just an additional use of the same hug that I saw before.
Yep.
And the thing she said here was so similar to what she said in Force
Sold
Awakens.
me on being her mother. It's like, that's her mother. That's her mother.
Yeah, but it's not. Oh,
No.
we're not there yet.
No.
I think they did a really good job, though.
I do too.
And they did an eloquent way. They took the opportunity and did an eloquent job of getting her out of the story. When again, back to Last Jedi, when they sucked her into space, I'm like, this is perfect. Like, he's a
At the time I
patricide
was
and a
too,
matricide,
but yeah.
and like she's out in space. This is perfect.
How you feel
But
about that double
They
D?
fly now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They fly now.
They fly now. Oh, Jesus.
I love that.
Yeah.
The humor in this continued to be good, though there were less opportunities for it. But I love that beat early on when, like, it was so delightful to see, like, Poe and Finn and Chewbacca all on the Millennium Falcon.
R2's on there.
Yep.
They have some weird, like, guy working on the, like, slug guy working on stuff. But they're doing their Star Wars.
His character never really developed that much.
They're Star Warsing. That's right. They had their act together, and like Finn was super comfortable behind the guns and the turrets and stuff.
Yep.
And I love the chess match beat where like Chewbacca was taking forever to do a move. The comic timing between like Poe and Finn was so
funny.
great.
Yeah.
It's like really good.
No, we don't think you're cheating. You're 250 years old. Like, of course you're better than us.
And they're like talking at the same time. So I think I listened to Poe but didn't hear Finn. It was it's really fun.
Poe is definitely the new Solo.
Yeah.
You know, being the best
Yeah.
pilot, other than Rey, maybe.
I still stand by that. They're all three of them are a combination of multiple characteristics of the other three. So that there's a little bit of Han and a little bit of Luke and
A bit of Lando.
Yeah, Lando. I called it. Did you hear me say when there was that guy, when there was a character with a mask on?
I'm drinking.
I said it too. I was like, that's Lando.
You did.
It was.
You called it. You totally called
I
it.
never call anything.
And it was him, and they did an eloquent job of bringing him back into the story. And
it was pretty obvious that it was Lando, though.
All right. Well, yeah, but
did you guys
can't give me this.
But, I mean, had we not known the character was coming back.
Oh yeah, if I hadn't seen the preview,
yeah,
I'd never in a million years guess it.
Twinkie caught it because I confirmed it with him. Did you guys see Wedge Antilles at the end?
Is that who that was when you were?
Yeah, when they came back in the shot. So
oh shit. Okay.
He was one of the ships that came with them was Wedge Antilles, which that was because he was one of the rogue squadron that made it through all three the original trilogy. Yeah. So, which you would not want to be like part of Rogue Squadron if you fly with Luke, right? Because if you're flying with Luke, you're like, well, I'm dead. Like, like, he somehow was the only one that made it through, like all three of them with flying with Luke. And goddamn, he's the one that flew through Baker's Canyon with them on Tatooine. Like, Jesus, man, it's like, oh shit.
I think there's a question to Twinkie or Double D.
Well, what happens? Which one of you remembers what happens next?
Have we even talked about anything yet?
I'm getting at it. What happens next?
Well, we just talking about the training, and then we get this next scene where we find out, or we just get further reinforcement that Kylo Ren and Rey are very much connected because her training gets interrupted by his
force touch or whatever.
Yeah. Whatever that's going on.
Which shows it wasn't Snoke behind it, but now we know that Snoke. Oh, the other thing we learned right away was Snoke was just a force projection from the Emperor, right?
Every voice.
Or like he was a physical thing.
He was a physical thing. Okay,
because that was one. I did see him in those.
But what
chambers,
did it mean that I created Snoke too?
It seemed like there was clones.
I think he was
like
living.
Snoke. It seemed like there were
that's
more.
right. And there were okay. Yeah, you're right. Sorry.
And Anakin too, which that's very interesting.
Yeah. I didn't see. Yeah,
I'm gonna look on Sunday when Ash and I go to see that Anakin in that, because if there's an Anakin in there, like was it a kid Anakin?
So were they in the process of trying to make clones, or were those clones?
Well, that would imply that he like grew a fetus of Anakin, and
right?
Maybe he
and there were other there were other potential Anakins.
Yes. Yeah.
Is it suggesting that, or is it suggesting he was still in the process of trying to find a clone that could survive?
From these other, that could be or maybe an Anakin clone that isn't a failure, because he still considers Anakin was a failure all the way along.
Because Snoke looks like he had been through some shit. Like his head was caved in and stuff. But I think it's more than he was not quite fully formed.
Yeah, that could be.
I'm guessing.
Or it's just part of the technology for cloning. Like the DNA just gets messed up, and it's like it's not. Or it's
rudimentary in that lightning chamber with all those ghosts running everything down there. They're just not good cloners. Like the. People over on what you got here is the Kyber dart. Cloners.
Inbred, it's the same thing.
Yeah. Is that the line? Did I get it?
I think so.
Yeah.
I still don't know what planet we're talking about.
All right, so after the training was interrupted, then that's when Rey decides that she's got to go find that the way to get to Exodus or whatever.
Yes. And then they end up in that quicksand.
Oh my God!
So then they gotta,
As someone who grew up around the early '80s, like quicksand was one of my greatest fears because it was in everything. It hasn't been in stuff for a long time, but like when they were in quicksand, I was like, oh, fuck.
If you got your right foot in quicksand and your left foot wasn't, all it took was that right foot. You were dead.
I was thinking
you're gonna get it sucked in.
Lay flat.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you that we grew up in a time where
that was a thing.
You could just,
but not actual quicksand, just the mythology of
Correct.
quicksand.
Yeah.
Just on TV.
Okay, I was just making sure I was on
just
the
like
page.
on the Incredible Hulk.
I was just like, wait, did you guys really gather that much goddamn experience with quicksand? You're talking about lessons?
It's all in your gravel
Don't
pit.
get your left foot in there. You're a goner.
Yeah.
So many Rittman kids from quicksand.
Shidoshi taught me. And it's like,
This scene turned out to be a lot more important than foresaw.
Wow. So then we get to the... Well,
what got him to the quicksand?
What do you... Well, okay, go. Do we have to go through every scene?
No, not every scene. It's just a means of moving through the interesting things.
They were found out when they got there.
They're tracking down a compass
battle.
to find the Emperor. That's what's going on.
But they were in like a fight. Like
one of the Siths that took her parents away had the ship that landed there.
That was a Sith? I wondered if it was a Jedi. I couldn't figure out.
It was a Jedi hunter.
It was a Jedi hunter? Oh, shit.
See, this is where we need Double D and Palmer and Twinkie and all you smart people. Krams,
all the smart people known like not to interject and talk over people.
They're trying to connect Rey back to, we're still trying to tie that end up because you find out in the first interaction with the Emperor that he knows some stuff that Kylo doesn't know regarding her parentage,
right?
Which you can kind of look at two ways. They're maybe retconning a little bit of Last Jedi, or they're just taking it and going in a slightly different direction with it.
Right.
Or the plan, because they did work it into the plot.
Right.
Why Kylo didn't know.
Yeah, for sure. Yep, they talked about it.
And how that was hidden from him.
Remind me.
As soon as I started saying that, I was like, they're going to ask you. But I remember being like at least a little bit satisfied that it wasn't just... Yeah, well, like Kylo was lying, or we changed our mind. There was a reason that Kylo was misled as to.
She believed her parent. That I think that scene when he's like they're nobodies, because she in her heart of hearts doubted and believed in her heart of hearts that her parents just sold her off because she needed them to be coming back for her. But in her heart of hearts, she just made up this whole mythology that they were nobodies and believed that, even though she didn't come right out on the surface and say that. And so when he read her mind, he read her beliefs.
Right.
Like every time he read her mind, he saw exactly what he was looking for. Just like in the first one, when he's trying to find Luke Skywalker, and he sees like her dreaming of an ocean.
Right.
And she really is showing him where Skywalker is because he is on a planet that's all one ocean. Right. And so I think like when he searched her mind for her memories of her parents, he found what she really believed.
Right. But
even though it was false.
But it's also misleading, right?
Yeah.
And those sorts of visions in these types of stories, they're often used as devices of like as lessons to not make sweeping conclusions from little bits of information, because they always just give you one part of it. And if he took that to believe that her parents were actually nobodies, he's reading what is in her emotions, right? What she's convinced herself as the truth, right?
Yep.
Great.
But we even get hints early on in the same planet there where they get caught in the sand when we get misled regarding the fate of one Chewbacca.
Oh, jeez.
Because of the lightning.
Right.
Before you get the reveal, they're already walking you down that road.
Right.
A little bit, at least.
Mm-hmm. And this was a bold move, too, because they had been teasing up to this point. There have been multiple teases on who Rey's... Are we gonna find out whose Rey's parents are?
They keep...
I even leaned over to Dave. I was like, they're going to do this the whole 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going to find out till the last frame. But then they really pack on the teases for the first third. But by the end of that first act, you find out. They tell you.
So do you like that they primed us? Like they've pretty much answered an important question right off the bat within the first minute, that Twinkie was wrong.
Wait, what?
Dead wrong.
So we all filled out
Oh yeah, the bride
for the bride.
The bride saw the movie the night before us this time, and she wanted us all on record for who we thought were Ray's parents.
So we all
should we just say who that was? We'll start with Moto and work our way across.
I thought the parents were Leia and Han.
And then Palmer arrived.
I thought it was Han Solo and what's his name? Darth Maul.
I don't take it in the back anymore.
Yeah. And I also was on the twins path with Moto. It's kind of like what I wanted, I guess.
What did I have? I had Palpatine but kind of in the way that he gave life to Anakin.
Yeah,
like a midichlorian or like a spirit, like possessing type.
He caused
thing.
it.
Not as a grandparent. I just
gotta watch the prequels for that.
Yeah, but
And then Twinkie.
I stuck with nobody.
Yeah, that Kylo Ren was right when he read his mind. Yeah,
and but I think that's still the most accurate because they make it a point like. They technically
chose
are
to be
nobody to this story, right? Like
no one we know.
Well,
there was that thing that like they chose to be nobody
of evil incarnate. I mean,
who is who? You think
that's somebody, and in line.
They said her father was his son.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
I needed a refresher on this. They only said it once, and I was like, "Okay, Double D, do you remember?"
Yeah.
Sorry, Double D.
Double D.
Who did you?
Double D weighed in last. Double D was really hedging his bets on this. He was like, "I don't want to commit," and he texted me right before it started.
What did you end up going with?
I ended up going with Han and just some kind of rando hookup, which is why he and Leia were on the outs there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did lean towards it was Han and and Daenerys, which I don't remember her name.
Kira.
Kira.
So in the first minute or so of the film, we learn that
It's not
Twinkie was
nobody.
wrong.
Right.
That it was somebody,
saying
and the Emperor sets it up
He's hung up on that.
with Kylo, and then they do the
really
fade out,
important to
right? So they don't let the audience know. So it was. I knew Twinkie was out. And Twinkie said that to me. I gave him a little elbow.
Got up. I walked out of the theater.
So,
you know what?
Twinkie's out.
Fuck this noise. I'm leaving. Just like that little girl bailed on bail.
Yeah. You've killed my childhood.
Yeah. This is bullshit.
Disney.
And don't you fucking call me Twinkie! We're done. We are done. George Lucas.
Well, I think too, just in like to put it in a way that I can understand, it's like if Donald Trump Jr.'s kids like ran for president against Donald Trump. It's kind of where we're at here. Like the grandson or granddaughter in the case of the movie.
So if the Emperor was also Anakin's kind of dad. So
I think that's helped supports that bond.
So Kylo would be kind of her uncle or second cousin or
cousin, I would say.
Something related.
They kind of call it out at some point. Well, he just sort of
they treat it as like a Skywalker and Palpatine, like they're a blend. But like if we at least is that canon that.
But with one, would you have the? I mean, I guess Palpatine existed before the Skywalkers. But if you do hold credence, it's never been confirmed who caused the.
That's not canon.
I don't think it's canon that Palpatine did
legend.
Yeah,
I don't even think it's legend. I don't think it was confirmed in anywhere in this expanded universe that Palpatine caused that.
It's heavily suggested.
Heavily suggested,
right?
Sure.
Right.
They almost said it was not a contradictory, but it was an opposition to the Force.
Yeah, so maybe,
Anakin was created, and then something else.
Baby Yoda.
Yeah.
No, that's legitimate.
Really?
Baby Yoda came into existence at the same time Anakin did.
Golly.
So
that's how old Baby Yoda is.
That's how old Baby Yoda is. So the theory is that the Force created Baby Yoda to counterbalance the darkness that Anakin was.
This is badass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get Disney Plus, y'all.
So it's just nature.
Or get a password.
Yeah, it's just nature.
Well, I liked there were some like very like pro environment.
Yeah.
The Rey's moment with that monster snake.
Oh yeah. And
where she connected with its force energy, and
that actually brings us back to the plot because they fall down beneath the.
You'd have to say actually. I was trying to do that.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was very well, skillfully done. Sorry, but yeah, so they end up down beneath the desert sand where they come down through the quicksand, and they discover the carcass, the bones
of this Jedi hunter.
C-3PO says that's never a good sign. There's a lot of good C-3PO
had some great, he had some great moments.
I think it's before that too, when he's saying things and they look back at him and they take an extra beat to let 3PO look around and then look back behind him as who are we pausing to look at here?
Normally, I find C-3PO so fucking annoying. He is normally the Jar Jar Binks of the original trilogy. To me.
Never gets any respect.
But not in a. I want Jar Jar Binks to be tried for war crimes and executed. I don't want that to happen to 3PO. But he's always normally annoying. But this was he was golden. This whole
I see what you did there. Pun always intended.
Oh yeah, pun intended. No, he was perfect. Really good.
So many droids made me cry in this movie.
Yeah. So we still
don't underestimate a droid.
We have to go back. We have to go backwards a little bit more and. Maybe everybody answer. What do you think Finn was going to say to Rey?
I think he was going to say, "I love you."
Oh, is it that obvious?
That's what I
think he was going to tell her he was force sensitive.
I think he was going to. I first thought, "I love you," and then it was that you're a Palpatine.
Oh, I know. I know that. Yeah, because he's like, I know, but she told him though. She told him that, right?
Not by that point. Not by that point.
Fuck. Okay.
This was before all that.
What do you say?
Dark side. He was a stormtrooper.
Yeah, I guess I was definitely leaning. I mean, they're definitely trying to at least play up the relationship between.
Double D's eyes almost rolled out of his head.
What did you think, Double D?
I just can't. I think that's probably what he was going to say too. Just how
you don't like it.
Whatever. I don't like it at all. That's absolutely the worst.
I like that they intentionally don't get them together. I feel like they go to pains to make them just friends.
Yeah, but he's thinking something else.
That
I mean, that's what you're all saying. I put in my time as your friend. You owe me.
I just remember that moment where he's like, you got a cute boyfriend.
Yeah.
But I do think it could be
the seed that he's flirting with her, which makes it really hard. It makes it really hard to not think that. But I really think that I love the fact that she didn't end up with any of them, any of these three potential guys, except for it's shown that she did in her heart of hearts have feelings for one of them.
Though I think because I was okay.
Kissed him.
At a certain point, she kisses Kylo Ren or Ben Kenobi.
Ben
Kenobi.
Because he's back to
Ben Solo.
Oh my gosh, Double D needs to chime in. Jesus,
he's like, I gotta go.
His head's on the fucking wall. He's shaking it so much.
It's all the way at the end. We'll get to it.
Yeah, you're terrible telling stories.
I know.
So
we should have treated this as we
gotta jump
fire, and we're gonna tell you a story.
Right.
It took place.
Was anybody else just really quick? Was anybody else waiting for the ROUSs to walk by after they fell down through the sand?
Yeah. No, that's the lightning sand sucked them right down.
I was waiting for the ROUSs to walk by.
Yeah. I don't even know what that is.
Know. Yeah.
Princess Bride.
Rodents of unusual size.
Yeah, Princess Bride reference.
All right. Well, I tried. I tried to do my training, Double D.
I devoted all my time to Star Wars. I didn't know that I had to go beyond that.
No, that was one of his movies that I didn't do my time on.
But man,
But the biggest thing I think in that after they get sucked down is, of course, when Rey heals that snake, and that obviously sets up the whole rest of the movie.
Yeah, and that clears their way out too.
They do
being friendly to nature.
She explains that she's giving the Force to the snake.
Yeah,
her life essence.
Because the snake wanted to kill her, and then after she healed it, it's like, oh, here's the opening to get the hell out of here.
Yep.
Yeah, It just moved, honestly. It just moved away. It didn't even give her some sort of saccharine thanks, lick
it just
the
felt
face
better.
It just went away, and when it moved away, it so happened to be blocking the path that prevented that Jedi Hunter from
I would have liked a wink
escaping.
of
It was like winning a fight without fighting.
There you go.
It's like fighting without fighting.
Except
It's
you-
both.
And the thing had like 8 eyes too.
Very nice.
But you
They got
see her,
smaller than-
you see her like,
that was-
you see her like holding her hand, like she could. It
It
definitely
took something
caused,
from her,
it definitely took
Yeah,
something
she
from her.
loses something every time.
Yeah, and it's a nice juxtaposition to what happens directly after that. Like she's healing with life, and then the greatest reveal of this trilogy happens within the next 3 minutes because
What it is.
I'm on the edge of my seat. Like, what?
So in amidst all of that, so what happens? They get out of the cave. The Kylo Ren shows up with the Knights of Ren, which I really did. You guys catch that when they walk onto his Star Destroyer and there's stormtroopers there, and they just walk past him and don't even fucking look at the stormtroopers. And the one stormtrooper looks at the other one. He's like, Knights of Ren.
Oh, that's
And the other stormtrooper's like,
Cool.
I just picture him like a posse or something, like Leonardo DiCaprio's posse or some shit, the Pussy Posse. I'm just like, what is happening?
So they show up, and Rey goes to confront them, tells them to like work on this ship that's been derelict for Lord knows how long, and Chewie comes out to let her know we need to go, and you see him get captured and put onto this freighter that's going to go up to Kylo Ren's Star Destroyer. Well, yada yada yada. What ends up happening is a confrontation.
80 episodes, that's never happened. You can't yada yada yada. We have no show.
I'm trying to speed this up.
All right, so
There is that one amazing moment
Kylo
though
Ren,
where Kylo Ren is coming in on that ship to like get them, and Rey just like senses something, goes out into the desert and just like stares down this fucking machine.
Oh my god! A TIE fighter coming for her at top speed.
Kylo Ren's
like
TIE fighter.
Kylo Ren, which is the baddest ass of TIE fighters. Like it's so
She
awesome.
really has matured in her force strength. Her training is paid off.
This is her Jedi
Training
She's-
from Leia.
There you go.
Yeah,
Super
from
cool.
Leia.
So
And she's and it's her return of the Jedi. Like she is the badass now.
Yeah.
And so what's awesome is she stares down that TIE fighter, and after he knows that she's there, she turns away from it, like shows her back.
Yeah.
Like, and at the last second, like cuts off the one wing.
Jumps in the air, flips backwards, and like chops off the wing.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Super badass.
Yeah.
And equally badass, the pod, the middle part, spins off and explodes, and out of the fire walks Kylo Ren.
but not until she
Not
tries
right
to
away,
pull the transport.
Oh
button.
yeah, so the transporter that she thinks Chewie's on.
And that seems super badass
That
too,
was
where she's
badass.
just like stopping
Yeah, she stops
this
it from taking
this
off.
aircraft from like lifting
Yeah.
off the air.
Which there has been a lot in the expanded universe, in the novels, in comics, but also in the video games. There's been some pretty massive exhibitions of the Force, like use of the Force.
Oh, okay.
There's one video game in particular I can think of where you play as a rogue apprentice of Darth Vader's, actually called the Force Unleashed, and you bring a Star Destroyer down. Like like pull it out of the sky. It's really fucking awesome.
It seemed pretty extreme.
Yeah, no, it's great. Like, and it was a great thing. And so, and then Kylo Ren comes out and he's like starts fucking with her with his Force.
Like a tug of war.
or like a
Oh, the
cargo
Force.
ship. Like he's trying to push
Tug of
it out.
ship, yeah.
Yeah. And she's
It's a tug of
pulling
war.
it.
Yeah.
And she gets frustrated. And here's the reveal, the big reveal that happens.
What is it, Twinkie?
We get to see some Force lightning.
Yeah.
But from Rey, not from
Not
Kylo Ren.
from Kylo Ren, which up to this point has only ever been used by the Sith.
Correct.
Yeah, I've only seen it from the Emperor, right?
From
Yeah,
the
from
Emperor,
Palpatine.
really, yeah. Yep. And so she shoots Force lightning that blows up the ship that has Chewie on it.
Or so we're led to believe, and we all cry.
Dave,
Jesus, read the goddamn room.
sorry.
I thought at that point. I mean, we got a real listeners in too. People that haven't seen the movies, possibly. But I thought at that point,
creating intrigue.
I thought Rey was going to turn, and I was hoping Ben was going to turn, or Kylo Ren was going to turn, and it was like, holy shit, Rey's going to turn. Yeah, and that's what it was. It was the question of to me. It was like, holy shit, I didn't see that coming. A lot of I didn't see that coming, which is expected of Star Wars.
So she said.
So we're led to believe that Chewie is dead.
Unconfirmed as of now.
As of yet in the film.
Well, and when you're watching a movie like this and you know they're trying to wrap up things, you know,
I thought it was
there's potential. Sure. I mean, it's not necessarily the kind of movie I think you would kill someone off quite like that. So it was stunning, but there's a possibility, right?
Well,
that in tying up a movie that some characters are going to get,
especially in a series that they have made it a point like we're trying to sever ties with these old characters so we can make room for new ones so this franchise can continue on.
Right. But I'm like, there were echoes of Leia getting blown out of the command of the ship. Yes. Like that would have been a really sudden way to go very early in the film.
Yep.
Yeah.
And when she's floating out into space, we're like led to believe, and then...
And that would have been the catalyst to push her to the dark side because she just killed Chewie.
But in this case, I thought they might have actually killed off Chewie because it's like, oh, they faked it with Leia. They gave her this new power and saved her, and we all, we're like, okay. They fucking just killed off Chewie in that like most unceremonious like a fashion.
That's totally what I thought.
And I thought the guilt of that would have just driven her.
Yep. And then the rest of the movie would have been her agonizing with the death of Chewie. And questioning herself. And that's what Palpatine would have used to push her to the dark side. And I was almost anticipating this like reverse, where it would have been Kylo Ren pulling her back, like, no, don't go down this path, like.
To be fair to Dave, they clue you in pretty quick. That
it's within like 5 minutes, 3 minutes.
Yeah. So
Chewie.
Thanks,
Chewie's alive.
I got your back.
Until the end.
Appreciate it.
But the reveal at that point is that you realize there is actually something to Rey's lineage.
Yeah. Big time. And that's a pretty heavy suggestion that it's Palpatine.
They still haven't come right out and said that she's related to Palpatine. It's not until the next planet that they go on when her and Kylo Ren have their mind meld again that he finally tells her, like, you're a Palpatine.
Right.
But that lightning is like a direct, like that. Again, he's been the only one we've seen use it.
Well, that's the thing too. Luke and Leia both knew who she was.
Yes.
From the start. Did Han know? And Maz Katana? Maz?
That was
because that could have been part of, like, we never know why Han and Leia split. I mean, it's not hard to imagine that things can go wrong, but it could have been something. I don't know.
Well, it was Ben. It was that's what drove the loss of Ben is what drove them apart. They never
him turning to the dark
it.
side, kind of like losing a child.
Yeah, they essentially did lose a child, and so I'm sure there was contention. I'm sure like Han didn't want him. Like maybe been like, I knew this would happen, or we knew there was potential for this to happen. So why did we let this? But it seemed like once Ben was lost, Han kept dipping his toe and then his foot and then his right leg into like more scrupulous things, which then made it really difficult for Leia. That like these are all things that I like.
Less scrupulous, you mean? Like going back to his old sort of scoundrel ways?
Scoundrel ways, sorry.
My sense is that they never really... So here's my sense of their relationship. Is that they never really like even definitively broke up.
Right. Yeah.
Like it's just that like Han was always away.
Yep.
And well, have you read Bloodline?
No.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, Bloodline, which is I think
Moto?
it's canon. It's one of the newer novels.
No.
Claudia Gray, I think the author. But it's a book about Leia, and she's the center of it, and it's I think set. Like I think Kylo would be like 15. Like it was when he was training with Luke.
Yeah.
Already. And anyway, so that's when basically the whole galaxy finds out that Leia is Darth Vader's daughter. And it like she's in the Senate, and it like has a whole thing, and it's part of the rise of the First Order. But Kylo didn't know because they didn't tell him.
Oh wow!
So pretty shortly before the events where he turns, right, or whatever, and burns down the temple and becomes Kylo Ren and all that. He found out who he was, and that his parents had been lying to him.
Oh shit! So
Luke had kept it from him as well.
So he didn't even know he was Luke's nephew.
Right.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so.
As far as the galaxy knew, she was adopted by the Organas,
and that was it.
And they didn't know who her parents were. So it was.
That's a real thing in this, like not telling people these things. Like, Luke's at the end of Empire, Luke's says like several times to Ben or to Obi-Wan Kenobi, he's like, "Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me?"
Right.
That sort of betrayal is a big
thing. But maybe it gets back to that idea of like your blood doesn't define you,
Yeah.
Or maybe that's what they.
It clearly means a lot.
It does,
sure,
and that is it's betrayal. Like it's always the good guys that are doing that betrayal. Like it's the bad guys are telling them, like Luke, I am your father. Like she's my granddaughter, and it's always the good guys that are keeping that, like. Who are picking and choosing what information should be shared,
Yeah, it's omission always. Not,
lies through omission. Right. Yeah.
Or just like little inconvenient truths in storytelling or something like, Darth Vader murdered your father. It's like, that's true from a certain point of view. But, so where are we? So
in the story,
we think Chewie is dead. Rey thinks she killed him.
First Order is after them. They find the abandoned ship and a droid.
Oh, I love this droid.
A new droid who...
What's his name?
I don't know, but man...
Seems like a him.
Like, I want his merchandise. Jeez, that guy... when she goes to touch him, he's like, no, thanks. No, thanks.
Was that the cute... That was the cute thing from this.
Yeah, that was new cute
thing. The thing they added, yeah.
Like, no... I like you. Like that's great. Like after she fixes him,
the droids are always they seem like dogs to me oftentimes, and so that idea. And I just adopted a dog who'd been horribly abused, and so that idea of like, oh, someone was really terrible to this. That's why it was like, no, thank you, don't touch me. She's like, it's okay, you're with us now. And between that and like Rey touching and healing the snake, there's some of the reason I was just a puddle throughout this is the light side of human nature, like the compassion and stuff that's shown was just core-shakingly moving to me.
Mm-hmm. And I heard that multiple times that compassion was that theme, like there's more of us. Like that was like that's what Billy D says, but there's more of us and we've said that to I know we've said that thing to each other.
Hard
like there's more of us than them.
To extrapolate that to current political, and I'm sure that's not a coincidence.
Not actually.
No way. Like, oh man.
What, Star Wars can be political?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, there's so much senates.
These are the real profiteers from wars. That was the one part of the last. Jedi
I was hoping to see Benicio del Toro in this. Come in like how Han's like apolitical in the first one, and anyway.
So we get the blade. We're trying to translate the blade.
Yes.
We can translate the blade, but we can't get the translation from the droid.
We can't share the translation.
Correct.
Yeah. It's against his protocol.
Correct.
Because it's in Sith.
Right.
The joke is 53 billion bazillion languages, and this is the one you can't tell us? Like, oh, no, I can read it. Like,
I know what it says.
Yeah, I know exactly what it says.
Which then leads us to Poe's connections on planet...
Kira? No. Now I've said a word.
Kamunchu? No.
No, I forget.
Kombucha.
Kombucha.
Yeah,
Cobra Kai.
Something like that.
Kombucha.
Yeah.
Which sounded familiar to me. I felt like I'd heard of that planet before, but...
Everybody's got good digestion on that planet.
Until we know what it is, I'm calling it Planet Kombucha.
Yeah.
But we then run into an old compatriot of Poe's.
Yes.
Who he's hoping will help
Felicity.
be able to extract the information.
Yeah, and you find a little bit more of his past that he was again that correlation with Han Solo. He was a spice runner,
yeah.
Right? And I love that exchange. Like, I was a spice runner, she was a scavenger, you were a stormtrooper. We could do this all day. What are we doing here?
These great like perilous moments where they think they're gonna die, and then like Poe will ask, Poe asks Finn's like, "What were you gonna say to Rey?" And he's like, "Oh wait, no, what was
You're
the
still
thing?"
on that?
Yeah, he's like still on that. But there's the other thing too, where he's like, "Well, I'll tell you this or tell you that if you tell us all the like shady shit you're up to." To Poe,
right?
Which I guess this is some of said shady shit on that planet.
And so then we meet another cute little character who's responsible for extracting the information from him.
I want to be friends with that little thing.
That was the other cute thing.
Yeah, that was the other cute thing. Yes. And like cute in an awesome way though, where he's just like when C-3PO is like, when he's like, well, we'll get. I'll save that because we're in that scene already.
So it reveals the information.
Yeah.
Through.
They had to wipe his memory.
Yeah,
that was the trick. So they could tease it out, but they would have to wipe his memory, which the implication was he would have forgot episodes 4 through then.
Right, because his memory is wiped at the end of
episode 3.
Yeah.
Right, and he does that beautiful line from the trailer where he's like, I'm just like, what are you looking at? I'm just looking at my friends one last time. Fucking Niagara Falls.
Yeah.
Like,
fucking droid.
I know, from a fucking droid.
Never underestimated a droid.
I love when he's like, and then Poe's line though, because they don't do it in the trailer, he's like, didn't you like dump all of your stuff onto like R2's memory banks? And he's like, Lord heavens, no. Like, those are so unstable.
Yeah. We had more character development of C-3PO and R2 than any of the characters in the prequels.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's so true.
Yeah,
so true.
I mean, they carried so much emotional weight in everything they did. I mean, even R2 with its little movements, and when it found out C-3PO, like, his memory was wiped.
Yeah.
And he... You know,
and he's like,
there's that little sad R2 noise.
Best friend.
Yeah.
Because he tells R2, he's like, you're my best friend. Oh my God.
Yeah, and he's like, stick what and where? I don't think so. And they cut to that scene.
Yeah. Everything C-3PO, like everything he raised is like he was the one who was just saying this is impossible, but you could do this if you were this cruel. Right. And everybody's just like, yeah, we could do that. So you're saying we could do that? Okay.
Then a great cut to them doing it.
I love when his memory is wiped and he's like, well, what is everybody's name? And that little creature, the new character that we just met, and he says his name. He's like, bah, 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 bah. And he's like, well, nice to meet you.
Yeah. And he says later that was his oldest friend. I love that. He's my oldest friend.
That guy was fantastic. Yeah. Oh, so good. Stick what and where? I don't think so. And then they cut right to it happening, and he's like, did you hear? I'm going on her first adventure.
Yeah. Well, there's that moment, too, where he says, like, right before they do it, he's like, oh, I just thought of a way we could...
And nobody cares. Yeah.
That's very true.
The disconnect between what the audience was feeling and, like, what the humans were emoting on screen was really big at that point.
I think by this point we know who the spy is, but we didn't. Did we skip over that?
No, we haven't gotten there yet.
Okay.
Talk about unceremonious ends. Like for a character that they've kind of just like limped along for this whole trilogy.
And he's First Order.
And he's First Order. So the spy that we found out at this point is Admiral Hux.
We didn't find out yet.
Not yet. Yeah. We do ultimately find out that's who it is.
Oh,
yeah.
Sorry.
So
next?
Kylo and Rey do the little flip-flop where they go up to the Death Star.
And he comes down there.
Yeah. And there's an interesting thing developing, too, where whatever that connection is to them, and it kind of goes back to when in The Last Jedi, where Rey's on the rainy planet, and then
you see Kylo's nipples.
And you see, there is that. She's like, can you put something on? And obviously she's been thinking about that ever since.
And he grabs the necklace.
Yeah, so there's like, it develops to where this connection to where they can sort of see each other where they are. And early on in The Last Jedi, Kylo was saying, like, I can see you, but I can't see where you are. And then it gets to where, like, the rain fell on his glove and it was wet. And now to the point...
So could she see more than he could? Are we led to believe? Or were they both equally blind?
I think the key...
I think they're starting to see... Because, like, if you notice,
I got the sense she could see where he was.
Yeah, it was all blurry. His background was blurry a little bit.
It was blurry for him, but not for her.
Maybe not.
like
for
from
some
her
reason,
shot.
I think because it was familiar to him, it was blocked out for some reason.
Yeah,
that could be.
Because the only way he knows where she is he gets the necklace the first time.
Yeah.
The second time, they knock the Vader helmet.
Yeah, they knocked the
so he's
whatever's
that's
holding
how
it up.
he knows.
So
That's what
he
clues him
sees,
because he knows that's the only place he can
whatever.
exist.
But I think that was showing
Her perspective.
that she had moved beyond him.
Yeah.
There was no, even though they had the little tug of war with the freight ship for a minute, she won that with the lightning. Like she can see things in her visions of him and basically occupy his space, but he's not able to do the same.
I mean, even early on in The Force Awakens, she can outdo him. And
I feel like that's the one critique that they just hammered home in this one from the previous two, where it's like, how could she not be trained at all in the Force, stand up to him at the end of The Force Awakens? And it's like, because she's a fucking she's obviously Palpatine's, like,
so
she's a badass.
Can we talk about that? Like, Luke was a farm boy with a couple hours in Millennium Falcon with Obi-Wan.
Yeah,
he took down the Death Star.
The first time he says, like, reach out with your feelings with the blinder down, he's
and
like,
that's okay.
I mean, she at least grew up like on her own, fending for herself in a rough environment and feeding herself by like finding this junk and
like, knew how to fight with that staff thing. So like she had a little bit of combat.
This is all like
I know
feminist
I hate
nonsense that
I
you're
hate
giving
that
her this
critique.
thing just to.
I totally hate that critique, but I feel like they answered
it means she's special.
Yeah. Yes.
Because Anakin did a lot at the age of 8. That
same thing.
Ridiculous, winning that pod race, and then they ended up taking down
he was the only human that could pod race. Like that was
So yes, but okay.
But I feel like they really sealed the deal that can't be a critique anymore with this. You know, like
I think that training sequence was important for.
Yeah.
It seemed like the training, like if Luke had kept going with Yoda on Dagobah, the kind of thing we would have seen. Like the running through the forest and all that.
Yeah.
It seemed like
and we're led to presume he does that between Empire and Jedi.
Yes.
Oh, you think?
Yeah.
I totally think so.
When he comes to Tatooine to confront Jabba, like
I thought it was
a full-on Jedi. Like he's...
But I don't think he'd gone back to Dagobah to train with Yoda, because when he goes back to say goodbye, like I think he had been gone.
No, I'm.
You think he'd
like
been
months,
back there
months
like, training?
have passed between the end of Empire.
Even years.
A couple years, I think, before.
Yeah, and in that.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't like have his fight at the end of Empire, and then,
just sulk somewhere.
Like 2 weekends later, he's like
That's what I imagined.
He's a badass. Like
that's what I do.
He's like dressed in black and
Yeah, when he
writing poetry.
When he walks into Jabba's palace, like he is a Jedi master.
He's a full-on Jedi. Yeah.
By that point, and that training happened. There was something that happened
with someone else, or
with,
you think
with
Yoda?
Yeah,
with Yoda.
And when Yoda dies, like there's a deeper relationship there.
Yeah,
that would be forged through like spending a year together.
He built his green lightsaber. That happened in between.
And that's evidently a scene you can watch. Yeah. But Yoda says that thing. He's like, look, eyes so old to young eyes, like they hadn't seen each other in forever. And he's like, at the end of Empire, he's like, I promise I'll come back. And I don't think he came back until Jedi. That's my
thing.
That's what I think. What do you guys think
that
we're excluding? Do you think he went back to Dagobah between Empire and Jedi?
My impression was that he was now a Jedi Master at Return of the Jedi. How that happens, I have no idea. But I think that's the impression that I get because he's almost effortless.
And who would he get training from but Yoda?
Which is that's another thing, though, that makes the case of why that, like, how could Rey stand up to Kylo Ren at the end of Force Awakens? Why that's such a fruitless critique. Because even if... I would say the majority of my life, I've lived with that impression that Luke was it was a fruitless effort for him to become a Jedi Master. So if you can accept that, like, then why can't you accept that she can sword fight, like that she could stand up to Kylo Ren?
He seems so surprised too. Like when he's like, "No more training do you require?" He's like, "Then I am a Jedi." He seemed like, all right, okay.
Oh, that's true, I guess. Well, at the very least, I mean, he had to do some kind of training because he made his lightsaber. He made the green lightsaber,
right? And he didn't die.
And he didn't die. Yeah, yeah. Right. And I'm pretty sure that was still the time that in the expanded universe, that was your test. Was if your lightsaber didn't blow up and kill you,
right?
You were good. Like you were okay. Like it wasn't a Jedi Master. I forget which level you earned.
I think there probably is something to that. Even in Return of the Jedi, like Darth Vader says, like, "Oh, I see you constructed a new lightsaber."
Yeah.
Which I guess is a big deal.
So,
okay, have you ever constructed a lightsaber?
But so we go back to him removing jewelry and the Vader helmet going.
The connection,
Because just because it pays off big time when we get into the Emperor's chambers.
No, it's a super important piece that they have that Freddy Krueger power to like
nothing is wasted.
Dream World.
And it lets them identify where they are at that point, but then it pays off much
for sure.
Later.
Which I was not expecting, but that was
no, that was a great
great payoff.
Great payoff, yeah.
And because they share the Force like that, I felt like they were brother and sister. But
it's
not the case. They're just as strong.
They might be second cousins, but probably not. I think you're right. I think this movie kind of maybe settled that these were the Anakin thing and maybe the Baby Yoda. Maybe we're suggesting
if there was an Anakin clone in one of those chambers, would it be that big of a stretch that Palpatine put a little bit of his DNA inside those? If he's trying to make this like super Force powerful apprentice.
When you say that,
so that's why I don't know. Like that's why it's important. Like, was this suggesting that these were attempted clones?
Oh yeah.
Or are these all clones? And Anakin, who ended up being Anakin, was the successful one.
What if this place was that was the staging ground for all of his plans? Like that's like. All the way back to episode 1, that's where he like started to build those plans.
That scene reminded me of the last shot of the Prestige we were talking about.
Oh yeah,
with all and I was just like, then that got me emotional a whole other way.
Spiritually speaking, the Force is most similar to Buddhism in the yin yang, and the balancing of the yin yang. So. The opposing forces balancing each other. And I have a guitar shirt I was going to switch to after my season's greetings from the Skywalkers. But
that's a great shirt.
So, okay, I have a question, but I'll save it till after.
After what?
After our run through.
Is
this what we're doing? We're just going to spend.
No, we're going to keep going.
Okay, yeah, because that's Go ahead, Twinkie.
Well, no, so after we have the confrontation. They head off to the Death Star planet, right?
Yes.
They've got the plans.
They somehow find
they got the plans because he told them it's located in this vault that was on the Death Star.
She had the Sith.
It's a far moon of Endor, like the 5th moon of Endor. And then Finn is like, where the last battle was? Where the last battle was the last
It is a
war
different moon from... The forest moon.
That's no moon.
Right.
Oh, okay, I missed that. Detail.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, it's not.
Okay.
So it fell on another moon of Endor.
Sure.
This piece of it did, I guess.
Right.
And she's got that like one-eyed Willy map.
Yeah, wasn't that a great reference? Like that's got to be a Goonies reference, right? It was too perfect.
Yeah.
And you find out they're what I thought was an indigenous people, but they're not.
Correct.
Right.
Meet up with them.
This is important just for the broader theme, I think, of the trilogy.
Right.
Yes.
So there are a bunch of deserters from a unit of stormtroopers that were ordered to shoot on citizens, and they all
the
dropped their
entire
weapons.
troop,
and now they I guess fought their way out, and now they're living just kind of out.
And Finn says it's the Force. Like, that's why you didn't, because the Force didn't let you
feeling,
do it.
And it's the same feeling he had when he decided to join up with Poe.
And that's when I started to really believe that's what he actually wants to tell Rey, is that he's Force sensitive too. Yeah. Like,
I wonder too, though, because I think it's a little bit that thing.
I've always wanted to fuck.
I don't know because then what frustrates me is because then they started like implying that there was this romantic inclination with this native girl
and Rose.
They kept coming back.
I feel like they let that one go.
I think maybe we just read.
Because in the last scene,
I think we read romantic things into things that aren't there.
Yeah, I seriously thought they might like have him and Poe kiss, like in that moment.
Oh, I would have loved that. That would have been awesome. Like, man, like, or I thought maybe. The whole time I was like, well, maybe him and Rose were a thing this whole time because she's like, I know I need to stay here because they need me here. And he's like, well, I have to go do this thing.
Yeah.
And I was waiting for that last scene when he lingers on her. Like they come together and you realize, holy shit, they were like husband and wife this whole time.
Oh.
And we're making this sacrifice. Like we're going to go do this thing. You know what I mean? Like,
no, I got the sense that in that moment, like there's been this tension between Rose and Ray and Finn, and like in that moment, Finn was choosing Ray, kind of.
Yeah. Well, and that's
not
not
in that many words.
But because he didn't go to Rose, that's exactly what happened.
But he might not recognize it, but that's kind of the choice he made.
Yep, and. Yeah.
And I even joked with Twinkie when there's the great line when they see her using the Force on people.
Oh,
and they're like, can she do that with us? And me and Twinkie both looked at each other. We were like, she can.
Yeah.
And I was like, if she doesn't need the Force to do it,
Star Troopers.
That's why you're on this trip.
She doesn't need the Force.
Yeah. There's no Force being used.
Yeah. They're both friend zoned and didn't know it. Like,
yeah, that's very fun. That scene where you just see her using the old fashioned, like you don't need to like see her identification type stuff.
Yeah. In fact, you're glad we're here.
Yeah. Like,
and I love how their attitude changed. Like, they're just like, oh, thank goodness you're here. Like,
there's so much personality in the stormtroopers.
Yeah. Well, and it shows that their quality, like, they're just scraping the bottom of the boat, like their side, just as much as the.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
They're breaking
like,
character too much. Because
yeah. Like they're just like scraping the bottom of the barrel to fill ranks at this point.
Right.
You know?
These aren't the stormtroopers of the Empire.
No, not at all. Not at all. Which is why you have dissension in the ranks, right? Like,
sure. Well, they were using clones.
The original trilogy in canon, the original trilogy stormtroopers are not like he scrapped the clones right after Order 66 because he couldn't trust them.
That's right. Yeah.
What's Order 66?
Where to go kill all the Jedi. Like,
that's right. That's
so as soon as as soon as he was established as the Emperor,
that's in Revenge of the Sith even. So that's stupid.
Yeah. He gets rid of the clones, and then the stormtroopers are recruited, but
those clones that were still in the Pike, like they'd still filter through.
Sure.
He just stopped creating clones.
Yes. Yeah.
So we're talking about another like 25 years later, 20 years later. Well, like 17 years later, we get Luke.
Purely pilfered people. Like
they're not. Well, right. But I think in the original trilogy, you probably had a mix.
Yes.
Because Luke is 16 when he's found, or 17, or
So
that's about how many years after Revenge of the Sith, obviously. So you'd still have clones, I think, like. Within the Stormtrooper units?
I think he disposed of, like, literally, like, euthanized them. I need to check.
I'm finding we disagree, like, on a lot of, like, just, like...
I didn't know Palpatine could get boners.
Well,
I didn't.
I know. He's like, he had a romantic partner.
Well, just different understandings of things.
Yeah,
well, and the thing is in the original trilogy, you were never really made to think of the Stormtroopers.
Right.
Which was a political point, I think.
Sure.
Of what happens to you.
I mean, it would totally make sense if he didn't just euthanize all the clones for them to be slowly, like, picked off.
Why would he do that, though?
In episode 80 of Long Walk, Short Drink.
No, why would you do that? You have an army.
There's a confrontation about the clones.
I don't know. I didn't write the expanded universe. I'm just
okay. I disagree. I disagree with Palpatine on that, if that's what he did.
So they find out Huxley.
That's like getting rid of the Iraqis.
So Double D, what is the next plot point that happens?
Right. So Huxley finally says, like, he ends up shooting the stormtroopers that are about to take out Poe, Finn, and well, not Rey at that point. It was
Rey.
It was Chewbacca. So it was Finn, Rey, or Finn, Poe, and Chewbacca that were all
because Rey was going
going on her own to face face Kylo. And then, of course, Huxley then kills the stormtroopers to let those three go, and he's like, I'm the spy. And Andy says, basically, I don't need you guys to win, and I'm not worried about you winning. I just need Kylo to lose.
Yeah. That really took my breath away when he revealed himself to be the spy, because he's so vitriolic about, like, the Republic and all that. And
but what was it really about then? Not the principle of being anti-Republic, but wanting power.
Yes.
And Kylo became his biggest obstacle to power.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Which I thought that Huxley, I don't think that they would have just, like the new commander, I don't think he would have shot Huxley. He got off too easy that way. I think that would have been better for Kylo just to shred him.
To give that one to Kylo.
Yeah. I'm surprised that he just
well, that's
shot
what
him.
I mean. Like, I mean, he was a coward who got a coward's.
Yeah, but you let that guy get. You let that guy get tortured. I mean, you let Kylo destroy him.
Yeah. But Kylo's...
Well, that's what I mean. It was unceremonious. He just, like, shot him. He's just...
Right.
Kylo's not going to do anything Richard E. Grant wants him to do. I don't know the character name. I know that actor from stuff, but...
Well, also, I mean, the character is also working with the Emperor. The Emperor's not just dealing with Kylo.
Yeah.
The Emperor's also manipulating this individual, and so it benefits him to remove
credence.
To one other person.
Allegiance.
Not necessarily now give that person to Kylo Ren. We don't want Kylo to get information. But so we get to the Death Star planet,
which is like a water planet, right?
Water moon of Endor.
Yeah. I just watched the holiday special, the 19. Well, I haven't seen all of it yet. I've seen all but the last 45 minutes or 30 minutes or something. Like, it's bananas. If you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend it. Maybe watch it in an altered state to enjoy it more. I didn't, but I was like, I should. But so that not only is Boba Fett introduced in that, because it comes before Empire, but he's introduced on a water planet. Then I was like, oh, this is so cool. And they must have done this as a cartoon, which they do in the holiday special, because it would have been so hard to do practically. But they do it now, and it's super cool. Like,
man.
It really
that water looked great. Yeah.
And it's such an imposing, obstacle to their just lightsaber battle that it really elevated it to like a whole new... There's a lot of like new wrinkles to like old things we've seen a lot where they just amp it up, whether it's like stormtroopers suddenly flying or
not flying with the Force,
right?
With
but being propelled. Yeah,
they fly now.
I gotta get one of those. Mandalorian.
Oh yeah, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
So somebody help me out here because this is kind of a sticking point. So their landing gear on the Falcon is down, right? So
it didn't work.
It was damaged.
So is there still any reason, like, when they take off, they just have a nice, easy takeoff and then they go, right?
Yeah.
They, like, hover up and then they take off. Like why do you have to land it, like, on, like, a... Like, why do you have to skid it in? Yeah. Why can't you just come in, like, a hover and drop it low and just set it down easy? Which, I mean, if you come in and skid in, you're just going to use spare parts to fix that and be okay to... I don't know. That's
can I go out on a limb here?
I've seen better landing.
Can I go out on a limb? If this thing can like hyper jump across the galaxy, why does it even need landing gear? Why can't it just come down to the height that it needs?
That's kind of what. Yeah. Well, and you see these ships when they're docked, they're floating.
Yeah.
Most of the time, right?
Yeah.
I just don't
even
know why
the speeders when they're parked
skid into a stop.
It was weird. They came in hot on that landing.
So wouldn't landing just be
it's an old piece of junk
getting to that level? Well, it's a plot trick, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are all fine with Kylo and Rey like being able to just fight each other without any of the hassles in building a story that they actually can get to the same place.
Yeah.
Because now we can just force project. It got a little bit silly. Like. Yeah. I mean, it's fine, but it's just like it's kind of a little bit lazy storytelling. Like,
I didn't know if they were force projecting.
I mean, the force itself, I guess, is a plot
device. How did he get there? Yeah. They didn't show his craft, but he was on the broken down Death Star. It's like, is he using the force to be there, or
no? Because she ended up getting in his fighter, in his TIE fighter, and taking off. Okay, so like he brought his TIE fighter down.
Yeah. Yeah, and
he must have known where the other one was and knew he used it as bait. He knew she was going to go after it.
Yeah, well, it made sense at the time.
Well, it's kind of funny you bring up the convenience and the lazy storytelling of
that's
getting
a little
them
strong,
to
but it's easy storytelling.
Yeah, or just it's like it's like let's not waste. But so in some of these commentaries I was talking about, George Lucas talks about the reason why hyperspace came into being was like I don't want to spend I don't want to spend story time on getting people from point A to B.
Yeah, we'll make it. We'll make it so that it takes 3 hours, enough for characters to talk.
Yeah,
and give the audience a break.
Yeah,
but not the 3 months or in reality a million years.
A lifetime.
And then they've closed that distance even more now with this sort of force projection or whatever of being able to fight when you're not even in the same space. Yeah, it's cool though.
I mean, it ends up paying into the plot, so into the story. So
what happens next?
She goes into the vault, sees the dark ray.
Oh yeah, I missed a little bit of that, or maybe I didn't. I might have just.
No, you were there for all that.
Yeah, I saw the dark ray.
You missed her progress through the Death Star wreckage, which there was some good little deep cuts in there. There was a Imperial shuttle that was decaying at one part,
right?
And you saw some very familiar architecture from the Death Star, which was really nice. You saw the Emperor's throne.
I say the throne room,
which was great.
Oh shit!
She used to do that scavenging,
right? And that was a throwback to her original, that those skills, those things that she knew how to do, were gonna paid off for her. Yep. So, but then she gets that vision when she's in the sub chamber of the throne room, and sees herself as a Sith, and kind of fights herself. That's a really good scene, and I'm so glad that because I saw that and that was the big reveal in the teaser trailer, and I'm so glad that was not a red herring, that they came back.
It was an important plot point.
Yes, it actually happened, and she was actually a Sith in that vision. It was good.
It was part of her training in Last Jedi.
Yeah,
down in the dark hole.
Yeah,
and the multiple.
Well, and it's a throwback to Luke fighting himself at the when he's training with Yoda, and he tells him don't go in that cave, and Vader's at the end of it, and when he the mask blows off, it's actually him inside the mask.
So is that about the potential for evil that we all have inside of us, or the possibility for redemption? For somebody even as evil.
Oh,
as
I always
Vader.
took that as foreshadowing that he's his father, because you're coming up on the reveal that that you're fighting yourself.
I mean, that's part of it too, but I think it can be both.
Sure. Oh yeah, no, but I think as an adult, that's how I see it your way, where it's you have the potential, you could just as easily become him if you're not.
But he obviously takes it more as there's good in him. I know it. I think that takes to that.
Oh,
yeah.
He realizes
there
it
you go.
The fact.
Yeah, because he asked Yoda, he's like, "What's in there?" And Yoda's like, "Only what you take with you."
Yeah,
which is a pretty vague, obviously very Yoda thing to say, but I like that idea that he took
the opposite of what I originally did.
His belief that there's good in Vader,
and I think maybe up to the time where he found out that Darth Vader's was his father. Maybe he took it the other way as we can all be vulnerable, and then only after he realized
in reflection,
no, this is showing me that Darth Vader has good in him because he's connected with me.
That would totally fit. I really like that a lot because that fits into the idea that the Force vision show you exactly what you need. What you're the one that misinterprets
and it's all true.
You have everything.
You might misinterpret it.
As
meaning something it doesn't.
Yeah.
Well, and Leia's saying to Rey, she says something like, "Don't be ashamed of who you are," or
yes,
which is very interesting if you take into account that Leia
she knew she was a Palpatine. Yeah. Well, because but that shame isn't shame one of those emotions that are the steps to the dark side that Yoda goes through?
I don't think they name it, but it definitely is.
You would think it would be
a powerful negative emotion. Yeah.
Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate.
Hate leads to suffering.
To suffering.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. So there's no shame in there, but shame in that game. All right, so
and then she gets knocked down by the Force ghost or whatever. That's not the right word, but herself, and then drops the device that she had picked up, and then we are faced with yet another confrontation with Mr. Wren.
Which that is a recurring theme in this too. Like that's a compass that guides them to where they need to go. Just like the map in the first one was like the map to Luke.
It's a Sith compass.
It's the MacGuffin.
This is it's the MacGuffin. It's the thing that like you need, right?
Yeah.
So
he crushes it and says, "If you want to go see the Emperor, you got to go with me." And then they engage in the battle.
I thought she was going to shake his hand. And
which means like you have to go with me on my terms,
right? But I was like, she'll agree because this is her way.
Yeah.
And but she's got a way to deceive him.
Well, and he said, and this is a throwback to earlier.
It's not genuine from her, but
this is a throwback to earlier in the movie where he says, "The last time I extended my hand to you and asked you to join me, you turned me down. But the next time I offer you my hand, you're gonna take it." And then he does at the end of this fight, and she still doesn't take it.
Because he is interrupted by Leia.
Oh, Leia. So Leia gets her arc in this, and she gets to be a hero.
Right.
Yeah.
And pauses long enough for Kylo Ren to be killed.
Yeah.
She gets through to him, however it is that people can do that.
As he's about to strike down Rey.
We missed one other piece of foreshadowing because earlier when she was in his chambers and he was down on that planet, she flat out tells him, "I believe that you're haunted by what you did to your father."
Oh yeah.
Like that's how I know there's still good in you.
Yeah.
Is because you're haunted by what you did to your father. Because we're coming up on that foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Right, because then afterward, like she did with the sandworm, she heals Kylo, and he's good to go. He's ready to go. But she leaves in his TIE fighter.
Yeah. And he's kind of dazed.
Yeah.
Right?
Because he doesn't know what's going on.
He's also filled with the good force that she
just gave him.
Right, because like when Leia does her sacrifice, she puts the blade, like the lightsaber through Kylo Ren. I thought that was the end of him. I thought that could really be the end of him.
It was Rey inflicted the wound that she then healed with her positive energy.
Right.
Which is...
But like the snake who decided not to kill her, she said, "I filled him with the good force."
Yeah.
And that's why... after being healed, it decided not to kill her in the hole, and then the same thing happened with Kylo Ren. And then, like every Star Wars ever, if like you saved my life, I have to save your life later.
But you really thought that was the end of Kylo Ren?
I did. I'm very gullible.
I was worried. I mean, I knew where the timestamp was, but
and then we get
a beautiful end.
These things work on me
for both him and Leia.
The great scene with Han and Ben.
Now, because I hadn't even considered she put good into him. Do you think that good she put into him caused that vision to come through? Like it finally caused him to come to terms with the emotions he was having?
I think she projected herself to him, not in a visual way, but spiritually in the same way Luke did in The Last Jedi, and that's what was that was the last of her energy.
But I don't think this was like a force spirit. I think this was like
I think she spoke to him through through that. She used her extra energy to break whatever that barrier was between them.
See, I literally think it's just the fact that she selflessly did that. I don't think there was good. I think she just transferred some of her life energy, as she described it, and he was just moved by it. That's what
he was moved because he knew it was from her. Like that was communicated.
But I don't think it was like she transmitted things of like, now you are good because you have some of my goodness. Like I think he just was. I just think that he was. I just think he was moved by the sacrifice.
That's agree with you. Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. and his mom was there, like was connected in there too. Maybe I don't know.
I don't know. That's I feel like that's a lot of this is just the compassion and the goodness of people in and of itself as an example.
Yeah.
Means everything.
Oh, that's true. Because I think that compassion thing is a big. So as much as you saw the nature thing, I saw the droid thing. How they kept coming back to the humanity of the droids, like and to have compassion for these things that are just as capable and just as important to this thing that we're trying to do. So we should pay them a little bit of respect. I think that compassion thing is a major theme of this, and I maybe you're right. I think that it's finally him dealing with what he did, and where you would think it would just push him further dark. And it mirrors that same scene. He's like, I know what I have to do, but I don't know if I can do it. And Han tells him he's like you can, and touches him and like
he calls him dad or father.
And like puts this hand on his cheek in the same way. Jesus, that's so fucking powerful.
Yeah. Well, he just says, "I know." Back to it.
I might have missed that. So this is that thing. They're on the water planet, and what
Kylo
happens?
and Rey just got done fighting.
Yeah, and then you hear a familiar voice, and it's, "Hey, kid."
Yeah, it's Han there with Kylo, and he gets redemption for what he did. And I can't believe they fucking got Harrison Ford to come back again. After they finally killed him.
So do you think Harrison Ford is really standing there, or do you think that that's been just projected?
Because
he says it's just a memory.
He's finally processing.
His hair's not wet. I think
just a memory.
I think it's.
I think it's all Kylo's vision. And he even says you're the one.
I think he's standing there in as much as like we see Luke as a Force ghost and stuff. Though I do. I mean, it's got to be.
I don't think it's a Force ghost.
No, I'm not saying it's a Force ghost because obviously, but I don't think it's like just Ben's imagination.
I think we're seeing the fan. I think that's like the one time we're in somebody's head. We're seeing them in their head.
I want to bring up one other thing because I think that one of the things in Last Jedi is that Luke was like, I don't think that the Force belongs to Jedi, and I think that's why I think it's all hubris for the Jedi, and the Jedi need to end. The Force belongs to everyone, and so I think with like Finn starting to sense things and calling things the Force, that I think it's starting to belong to more than just the Jedi. So I think and obviously, Ben is, very, very strong in the Force. But I think this idea that his dad appears to him in this way is something in line with all that. Like
it's connection to some spirit of Han. I think in the same way that Leia communicated with Kylo.
Well, and
I think there was a sense, not represented in a vision or whatever, but a sense of her communicating her love for him, and just because that's kind of what we're getting that the positive side of the Force is, right? You don't need to be sequestered in some elitist monk organization that's very conservative and very patriarchal and tears you from your family and tells you can't trust your emotions or love or have
a family
like being stolen to be a stormtrooper or a child soldier as well.
Just like
it's almost the same
getting
thing.
to some level of life achievement that we'd all like to get to, where you're connecting with people.
I also
on a human level, empathetic level, compassionate.
Sorry,
that's what accesses you to this energy force.
Yeah.
It's a spiritual awakening.
That binds us.
I think that's totally fair. And I think, too, it had been a goal of his, almost like a seance, hoping to get a Force ghost from Darth Vader, right? Like he kept that helmet and spoke to it. And
it was all the Emperor.
And it was all the Emperor, but
it was all the Emperor talking to him. And
the one ghost that does actually come to visit him is the one he's haunted by, because he can't let go, and it's Han.
Right.
I think it's no coincidence too that it is the same beats. Like I think it's him reliving that moment and making a different choice.
Which is what makes the case that it's a fantasy for me. Like you're in Kylo Ren's
He's making
head.
a different choice now. He's making the right choice.
Yes.
Ben Solo.
And he leaves that as Ben Solo. Like he's like, no, your son is dead. He's like, no, he's not. Kylo Ren is. And then he's back to Ben.
And tosses his lightsaber in the ocean.
Yep.
And I guess I was going to chime in to skip ahead just a little bit just to mention that the only thing that bothered me was him passing. But that's how all the great Jedis did pass, as did Leia at the same moment. It was kind of her healing as him healing and passing on in a good way.
And with him passing, all of the Skywalkers are officially off the board at that point. Like anybody with Skywalker blood is gone.
Yeah. That we know of.
But Rey considers herself a Skywalker at the end.
Yeah. Which she
know.
takes that name, you know.
Adopted or
let's not start in the last thing yet, because that was just
it's in our blood. Just to jump ahead and spoil things.
So then we have Rey taking Kylo's TIE fighter,
right,
and heading back to the island, correct?
The ocean planet, yeah.
That's where we go next. And apparently sets it on fire in dramatic fashion.
And Leia died. Did we
Correct.
cover that?
Yeah,
Like, did we say that already? When she reached out to Ben so
yeah,
that he could die, she died at the same time.
We might not have said it.
And that left Poe in charge as the general. She named him in her place.
Right. Because they just get back with the information to the Endor. Were they on Endor? Or whatever planet the Resistance.
They were hiding on,
the ocean moon of Endor.
Right. They get back and find out, of course, that
Leia's
no longer, and now they're in charge, and they have to figure things out.
God, and Chewie breaks down.
That was probably the most emotional part of the whole thing. Like, cause him falling to his knees.
Yeah, in ways he didn't with Han, because Han, he was all just business.
Like, and
he didn't have a time to grieve, but he grieved Leia.
Man, was that fuck? Oh, I'm tearing up just thinking about that scene. Oh, man.
that was a lot when Chewie crumbled.
I was just like, oh,
God. Well, because he's watching his friend, and like they had just while they started that adventure, they saw Billy D. Williams, and he's like, and he leaves. He's like, give Leia my love.
That was very erotic.
There
was something. Yeah, what was it? What was it?
Give it to her yourself. And I was like, y'all getting thirsty up here.
No shit.
Yeah, because he says, then the response was, you should just give it to her yourself. And we're like,
oh, that's right.
Yes, sir.
And Lando looks like he's thinking about it. And I was like, you know how he's thinking about it. He's going to give it to her.
They knew how to get Lando back in the fold.
Yeah, every moment with Lando, I was just laughing. It was just pure joy.
It was so good. Yeah. To see him and Chewie then flying the Falcon, because it was his ship and it was Chewie's ship, and they're flying together. Oh man, was that great? Like that they're like carrying on this legacy.
Was he wearing the shirt that Donald Glover wore in Solo?
Did wear.
Like that
gold,
blue.
No, it was like a yellow or a
red. It's like a goldish.
Yeah, I feel like
Probably.
It was similar.
Maybe
it would not surprise me at all if they just threw that little nod in there.
There were so many nods. There were so many nods to things Star Wars and even like JJ, like by putting all the his favorite actors.
Oh yeah, even, Charlie.
Charlie from Lost.
Charlie took me out of it. Like seeing him in that totally took me out of it.
Yeah.
Because he just felt like he acted like I'm just shoehorned into this scene. Like he really took me out of it to watch him.
I was happy to see Kerry Russell because I'm always happy to see her. That was his first show, was Felicity.
Yeah.
And I was, as a Felicity fan, I was so delighted to hear her say in a Star Wars movie, she goes, "Hey."
Yeah.
No other word was uttered in that show more than "hey." Everybody's just like, "Hey."
Was she the one that was on the planet that
she's you only saw her eyes,
with?
Yeah. But she says to him at some point, it's more like sometimes people will say like look or listen, but she goes, "Hey," and there's no way that was a coincidence.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Because like in the last season of that show, they would have previews that was just like every "hey," like supercuts before supercuts.
That's awesome.
But it was such a family affair from like every standpoint, from every like corner of things you'd want reference, from Star Wars to the filmmakers making it.
And I mean, come on, this was smart. This was well done. This movie was smart and well done on all ends, musical, visual. Whoever is bitching about it, I don't know. There's things to bitch about. But.
Are there? There must be.
I don't know. Krams, you've said a lot of really intelligent and things that make me think
But
since you've shown up, but one of the
farting.
No, please keep farting. But one of the ones that really stuck out to me is earlier today, before we went to the movies, you said that Empire. It took Jedi for everybody to see what a masterpiece Empire was, because they couldn't understand where the story was going when they just had Empire. And that at some point in our future, you believe that they will look back on The Last Jedi in the same way.
Yeah.
That it's just as much of a masterful piece of storytelling.
It laid so much foundation for this.
Absolutely.
I mean, maybe not as much as you'd want ideally if you were plotting out the trilogy. But because there was a lot of heavy lifting Abrams did in the first...
Sure.
25, 30 minutes. Right. A lot of talking about things.
I really thought a lot
of exposition rather than showing things in
the
work. Even right to the end with
really
the dyad force thing.
Yeah.
Like that was just kind of introduced out of nowhere, and then it ends up being a huge part of this. Like that stuff ideally you would have had set up.
Right.
Sure. But that's okay. Like it laid
he had to backtrack a little bit, just a bit.
I mean, just in the understanding of the Force and
and
what it means. Like I think without the Last Jedi and the challenges that laid for us,
especially after
the debate we've had, that's what I think led to this being able to be what it was.
I think being on this side of Rise of the Skywalker, I totally agree with you. I think that we're less than 5 years from now, people will be talking about the Last Jedi on the other end of the spectrum.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of the really harsh criticisms about it are just, like, there's more of us than there are of them, right?
Yeah.
We're silent, but it's a small minority of angry, mostly white
and we're in the
supremacists.
cancel generation. Yeah. Cancel this, cancel that. Everything just says my opinion is the most important, and you better listen to me because I have a Twitter account. And,
right.
You know,
you follow us at LWSD.
I know. I love that he's burying his head.
I mean, I was just like, if you're mad at how
audibletrial.com/LWSD.
If you're mad at what Disney did to Luke or whatever, like just get over yourselves. And you watched a different original trilogy than I did, as well. Like,
get old. People get jaded. Man.
And
but it's actually a huge sacrifice that Luke made.
And the most badass thing
he
could
was
do.
The hope. He was named A New Hope. And he was the hope.
He ended up being in a different way. Like the prophecy.
Those people showed up at the end. All of those ships showed up because of him. Because of his sacrifice.
Yes.
Did we jump past the part where Rey threw the lightsaber?
Just like
she was giving
up,
just like Kylo Ren. So we'll try to get back on track.
That's a great throwback.
So Kylo Ren throws his lightsaber into the ocean, and now you've got Rey who's blown up Kylo Ren's TIE fighter, and she's gonna throw. Throws the.
Luke did the same thing on the same island. She gave him that lightsaber back. He threw it in the ocean.
Yeah,
right.
Well, that was another dig at maybe the.
You should treat a dig.
Yeah.
All of that was a dig.
You should treat your lightsaber with more respect.
Like, that's exactly the one I was thinking of. That we're answering your criticism, and you can go fuck yourself. Is that great? Because again, that's a rhyme. Right there is a rhyme. Like Luke threw that off a cliff. She went and tried it, and then he stopped her to say, like, I was wrong.
Because he learned his lesson. But his initial lesson was a good one. That with all this, all we've been doing is adding to the fighting and adding to the pain and suffering.
Yep.
And it's a jaded look, but it's a recognition that I might have the best intentions, but I've hurt people.
Yes.
And I want to avoid that, right? And that's a psychological thing that we all go through, and he went through it, and it was genuine, and it was meaning it was he sacrificed his life, right? But he sacrificed his life at the end by realizing he didn't have the full picture, right?
Yeah.
That there is something that's needed, right? Something that can transcend that I didn't realize, and that now I do, and Yeah.
No, you're good.
Oh man.
But yeah, so it's him giving himself and him becoming a legend.
Couple PBRs out of that fridge.
Yeah, and then
I'll take a Budweiser.
There's a Budweiser.
I'll take a
pee.
PBRs in there. Or
So
whatever,
Force-
whatever you can grab.
Force Ghost Luke.
Yeah. So oh gosh. Yeah.
Then he gives her.
And he has
Rey-
longer hair. Like it's grown since he died.
Oh yeah,
little
you're right.
Yeah.
That's kind of interesting.
Which
Well,
is
your
nice
hair-
because that lets you
hair
know
grows
it's
after you die.
like Force moves on, right?
Yeah,
Like,
that he's
lives
still
on.
living.
Yeah.
That's me. Yeah.
Oh.
Budweiser, and then you got another PBR. I think.
Yeah,
Krams
just
won
whatever
one.
you can grab.
Thanks,
It doesn't
Moto.
really matter.
Or yeah, not the Bush though. Nobody wants Bush. Bush. You can drink Bush, sure. Yeah, I don't care.
William's knocking on a tasty bush right after the show, and you go. Met a tasty baby in Michigan.
So, Moto, can we take a pause and I can ask you a question? Like being a new Star Wars fan,
Yes, sir.
but being an old samurai movie fan, like, do these speak to you in that way? Like, do you like that vein of like? I feel like there is a very kung fu. I mean, even Lucas. It's not that I feel. Like, it is based on that tradition, right? Like,
I'm not perfect at depicting this, but I definitely felt, some of those moments. I'm trying to grab them in my brain.
well, I mean, like, so Darth Maul killing Qui-Gon Jinn, like you killed my master, like that, like.
Why'd you kill my teacher?
Yeah, like Obi-Wan.
Why did you kill my teacher?
Yeah, in honor. I think they even brought up honor, or was that a preview?
That's right. We killed your teacher.
They even talk about the Jedi Force or the Force as being a hokey religion, and the lifesaver being a. What do you expect me to take a lifesaver up against this and beat this? And that. What would you call it? An overcoming force at the end of Last Jedi, and the same thing in the end of this movie, 10,000-fold. But yeah, the lightsaber being just like a sword.
Yeah.
It's just a rudimentary device.
Yep.
Just,
Like Han is like, I've never seen a situation that a good blaster on your side can't solve, right? Like he says that to Obi-Wan, right? And,
A more civilized weapon.
a more civilized weapon. Yeah.
and a samurai sword can cut a bullet in half. But yeah, just the power of people. I love that sentiment at the end. Just and just the average person. And I wish I could go further with it, but
Awesome. That's great.
And I think that human spirit has always been. Oh, well, I do know because I've been revisiting these sort of old documentaries, and like I definitely went through, like a lot of people, I think of our generation, were like kind of annoyed at Lucas for the prequels, for fucking with the originals,
Over and over and over again,
repeatedly. But I've got, I don't know, I've got a new I've regained some appreciation for all that he's given us, and what he was trying to do, what he introduced with all this from revisiting some of these older materials. But he was always about, and actually it's kind of weird, but like he was supposed to direct Apocalypse Now, and it didn't happen. And a lot of this came out of his writing that about like the Vietnam War, like
he wanted to make a true film about Vietnam.
Yeah, he's like essentially like if the people's will is indomitable, no amount of like machinery or whatever can suppress it.
Right.
And so I think some of that is still there. And I love that, like, somebody in this movie asked.
Right, the United States is the empire.
Oh, yeah.
Like, fucking Star Wars was political.
Yes, it was,
Get your head out of your ass.
Yeah.
They've had some undertones, and anymore, it's like you're not going to win it with rifles, especially if 5G hits, because it's no longer your phone; it's this cybernet,
Right.
and so you're going to need hackers. You're going to win this war with hackers and shotguns.
What better illustration is, like, in this movie, Palpatine has an entire fleet of Star Destroyers that each one are capable of destroying a planet and it falls. Like they all fall from the sky by the end of the movie.
And so was it Poe that asked Lando? It's like, how did you guys do it? Like you had nothing because like Ewoks and the small band of people they defeated like one.
Because Lando does come to that planet. He comes in when he finds out Leia's dead.
Nicely done. Yeah,
he comes back.
He fills at this point that niche.
They're all. It's the point in the Star Wars movie where they're all working towards the same goal independently, because that is another thing that always happens, right? And so they're all working independently because this has happened before in other ones. They all are kind of a little pissy with each other, right? Like, and so
like people in Star Wars don't really get along. There's not a lot of great interpersonal.
No, but it's a cycle, you know, and so they're pissy with each other, so they're all off doing their own thing. So Finn's off over here and Poe's over here and Rey's doing this thing. And that's when he breaks down because he's praying to Leia. Mm-hmm. And he asks Leia. He doesn't ask Lando. He asks Leia. He doesn't
know Lando's there.
Yeah, he's like, how did you do it? When it was just the 3 of you or the 4 of you against an entire empire, how did you do it? And that's when Lando said from behind, he's like,
we had each other.
Because we had each other. and I love that the first thing he does is run to Finn and he's like, I need you to tell me what to do. Like he can be general and give the orders, but I need you as my friend to be my voice of reason. And I took that as, this is probably, this is just my take of that. That's what Lucas needed when he made the prequels. He needed somebody to come in and be like, are you sure you want to do that? Like, you know,
like a version of the paperclip in the old works. It looks like you're trying to make a science fiction prequel to one of the most beloved
it was his
franchises
ex-wife,
in history.
And then they got divorced. And then he said, I'll never do a Star Wars for another 10 years.
Oh, shit.
There you go, See, shit.
He was his sounding board, and they split up.
Oh, I learned a little bit of that, like when he was talking about like why he was less involved in Empire. He's like, I had personal goals, like I wanted to have adopted a daughter, and I wanted to devote my time to it. Was like, I'm listening to this, I'm like thinking, what? This is not what I expected to hear from this commentary. But
yeah, I love that. That's the theme. Is like the only way you're going to make this happen is you all need to figure out how to work together. Which, Jesus Christ. Awesome.
And Poe gives that great speech soon thereafter, and I that's when I can audibly hear it. You're like,
oh yeah, no, I like that speech. I'm bawling. I was like Niagara Falls during that speech.
It felt like the Independence Day speech.
Double D whispered out of my ear. Not whispered.
That was it.
I don't take it in the back anymore.
Oh shit, that is exactly what that was.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
But today we celebrate our Independence Day. Oh, that's
absolutely, yeah. That's what I told Moto in the showing, like in the theater. I was like, that's all we need is like Bill Pullman to be like, it's our Independence Day.
Yeah. We will not stand quietly in the night.
Exactly.
Yeah. It had that vibe. But it was good. It was a nice.
But before
moment.
they got to that though, so it's like important to know that Rey gets Leia's lightsaber as well. So she's going to go to battle with 2 lightsabers.
So yeah, we cut out that part, or we.
Then when we found out that Leia went through basically all of Jedi training.
Yeah,
and at the end had a vision of Ben dying at the end of it, and she gave.
I'm going to lose my son, and some other Jedi, and that's key.
Yeah,
some other Jedi will finish in my steps.
Yep. Yeah. So she had visions of Rey. And I mean, she didn't know it was Rey, but maybe she did when she first met Rey, right?
Right. But again, the nice thing, I thought that CGI where it showed, like, because like Luke takes off his mask.
I was happy to see that, I have to say.
And she takes off. That was really well done. Like, it looked like them at that age appropriate when it would have been. And the idea that they were training with each other, like, and she stepped away from it, like she saw that. I know what needs to happen, so I'm going to go over here and do this piece until that's ready. You know,
right. So Rey takes off, goes to the planet for the final showdown or whatever, and leads the way for the Resistance and everybody else who's going to be
right. before Poe gives that speech, R2 comes up because finally I feel like they worked R2 a little more into this one versus the last two. But he comes up and says, I just got a signal Luke from Master Luke.
From the X-Wing.
From the X, and you find out it's his X-Wing. Yeah. And so they're watching her fly and they're like, oh, it's Rey. And then they realize, oh, she's leading us. Like, so we can do this fight. We can do this. Like,
that's an important thing we passed over too. So we mentioned how like she tries to throw the lightsaber into the fiery TIE fighter, and Luke catches it, and then they have this interaction, which he basically kind of sets her straight, sets her on the right path, and sort of owns that he was wrong before. But that all ends with, he says, you have everything you need. And it is Luke he lifts his X-Wing out of the water like he couldn't do in Empire.
Like he couldn't
and
do in Empire.
And he gives her that great look. Like there's this beautiful look where he just like looks at her and smiles. It's so sweet. I have a little weird thing with Mark Hamill and this sort of crotchety Luke. Like it feels a little weird to me. I'm not sure. Like it doesn't exactly sit right with me. At the same time, it feels very genuine. I can't quite reconcile it.
Because it is a direct. To me, that's Mark Hamill. That's not Luke.
That's kind of what I feel like.
Yeah. That's just him.
Yeah.
And he is crotchety. I believe he doesn't like the direction that this went and doesn't like where the Force took him. But that's another thing that he gets total respect, because when all that shit was when they were making it, the Last Jedi with Rian Johnson, he's like, but at the end of the day, I'm an actor and he's the director and I do what he tells me to do. Like I don't have to agree with where this is. I have to help him meet his vision, man, did it pay off in this one.
That was a wonderful moment. I just wanted to make sure we mentioned.
And I'm glad I also like that there's this, we can interact with the physical world as a Force spirit. Like that, though, having Luke and Leia's lightsabers, that's another, every time they showed them together, Niagara Falls.
I couldn't wait to see what color her lightsaber was.
Yeah.
I was very excited about that. And I felt like ultimately it was just like kind of a neutral. It was like literally just the light.
White. It looked white.
Or gold kind of maybe. So I interjected with that. But where were you?
We got the
Twinkie,
X-Wing.
Twinkie, where are we? He lifted the X-Wing out.
Right. We left it and she hopped in and we're heading to
the Rebel
Excelsior.
Helmet.
No, what's the name of it? Excel.
Let's go with Excelsior.
No.
Excelsior. I like it.
Excel.
Exegol.
Yeah, it's something.
Excelsior
kombucha. No, what was kombucha?
Doesn't matter. It's kombucha now.
Yeah.
Kombucha and Excelsior.
Yeah.
Excelsior. Yes, and so we get to the planet. Rey lands, and she goes down to the Emperor's thing. Meanwhile, our heroes have arrived and are getting their butts kicked. Pretty dramatically.
In the air battle.
They rally the troops, and the idea is that Lando and Chewie are going to take the Falcon and try to rally as anybody who will answer.
Correct. Transmit a message saying we need help.
And the last little bit of the resistance are going to go to this planet to support Rey and go against, because it's so treacherous to get to this planet, because Emperor Palpatine hid it so well. This fleet of starships, of Star Destroyers, can't make it out without this guiding beacon, right?
Right.
So the plan is, we're a small group. These are giant ships. We'll come in, we'll swoop down, we'll destroy the way for them to be able to navigate out, and then we'll get the hell out of there, because they'll essentially be grounded by that point. They'll be stuck on this planet.
And where are these starships from?
I think in the same process that kept Emperor Palpatine building and rebuilding the New Order.
Final Order.
In the background, he's building this fleet of Star Destroyers.
He built it, I think, before during the Empire.
It's a contingency. Yeah, all these are contingencies. Yeah.
So he built this fleet up and had the infrastructure there, and
just like the clone armies being built in the background.
Okay. Yeah. And the Sith troopers, the redded, are just dudes? Those aren't clones or anything?
I don't know.
Are those
stadium
droids?
seating? You mean?
No, in the actual guards.
They're Imperial guards. Yeah, I always thought those were
from the Empire.
So like when they're fighting on the outside of when they're riding the horses on the outside of it, there's they look like stormtroopers.
Those are stormtroopers. Yeah, those are. Oh, those are new. Those are new.
Like new Imperial guards.
Yeah, they're called Sith troopers.
Oh yeah,
they're just regular troops. They're just stormtroopers, but Sith. I didn't know if.
How cool was that they're having a fight on the surface of a Star Destroyer? Like as this thing is like flying through the air, they're having a ground battle on it. Like just to show the scale.
So then we end up with Rey appears to be losing the ability. I don't know how deep you want to dig in, but the Emperor appears to be luring her to do the whole thing we talked about earlier, which is to kill him, and then somehow they become one big Sith bad person.
Strike me. He's on his like Matrix chair, right?
Yeah,
being like kept alive.
Yeah,
and all this flood of all these. You don't know if they're spirits or actual tangible things.
Right.
Flood into this giant. It looks like the Senate. It's all this arena full of that are supposedly all the Sith from the past.
Yeah, that was creepy.
And if she
strikes
him,
chanting
that's what makes me think it's all a ritual. Like, but the goal is like if she strikes him down, all of them, all of their dark energy will flow into her, and she will get to be the empress of the new empire.
Right. And he gets to coexist with her.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. He has a body with which he can exercise his
powers,
consciousness, and
Whilst that is happening, Mr. Wren lands and leaves us the nice picture of an X-wing next to a TIE fighter.
That was a beautiful juxtaposition. Which is like the Luke and Leia lightsaber. It's this duality. It's all this duality.
And he runs in. He's confronted by the Knights of Ren, and he's about to be.
But he's Ben now, right?
He's Ben.
He's Ben. He's back to Ben.
Right.
So he's like dressed differently, looks differently. I have to admit, I kind of miss. I kind of didn't like the way he looked. I was like,
well,
I knew it was important to make the distinction that it didn't seem right.
Kylo Ren is such a fucking badass, but so on top of that awesome TIE fighter, he rebuilds his mask. And so now he gets this awesome mask that's all cracked with these red lines. Man,
I like the way it looks.
Gives Rey the
one.
So he's just a badass
villain. That was great. There was just a lot of like social awkwardness and like pretty heavy nods to the audience. Like this is. We've stopped being able to communicate, and this is the kind of banter we do now.
Funny. But it was very obvious when he did arrive. He looked completely different. It was like just a different face, a different character.
What's the movie he was just in? That was through Netflix?
Marriage Story.
Oh, he looked like the character in Marriage Story.
Yeah.
I haven't even watched that movie, but just from the preview and from
that's totally fair.
Fight with Black Widow about their children.
I was like, I don't want to watch a movie about that guy. That's why I haven't watched Marriage Story.
Yeah.
So his arrival though is what brought Rey out of that trance or that.
Because she is on the verge of. She's like because the Emperor does what he always does. Instead of being in his throne room, he opens the sky. In this chamber, and she sees her friends dying, just like he showed Luke. Your friends are gonna die. They're all coming into a trap, and all you have to do is join me, and it'll all end. Yeah. And she's about to do it, I mean,
she seemed like
until and he's giving the commands like she turns and kneels, and she steps towards me, and she raises her lightsaber. And that's another rhyme with the whole chamber scene with Snoke, where he's like, and then the Jedi raises the lightsaber and turns it and
on its true enemy.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not the right voice.
Yeah. So she's doing all that, but that at the same time, that's when Ben is fighting the Knights of Ren.
And there's that line at some point where she says like. I would have taken. She sort of says it unprompted. Like I wanted to take your hand, but I wanted to take Ben's hand. She says that. I think in this general scene.
No, that was on the water. Yeah,
the water?
And then she and then she left.
That's when she left.
Yeah, that was the.
We're getting closer to that being an option.
So it looks like that that Ben is about to lose his fight. She's about to give in to the Emperor, and because she has the lightsaber up. but then she takes it and looks like she's sheathing it on her back.
I think that whole time she was connecting with him, like.
Oh yeah. It looks as though she's bringing it back. Him. Yeah, to get the leverage
but
to
she's
strike
like,
him
we're
down.
playing this.
I almost at that time was wondering if rather than go through that, she was going to kill herself.
That occurred to me too.
Yeah,
and in that moment too, early
rather than
Yeah, I thought she was going to jump too early on, like in Empire, where he's basically backing her up, like that Echo. It's basically like the Darth Vader, like this is who you are. Now you have to deal with it. And I thought she was just going to do like Luke and just like, I thought she was going to like pull out the bunny teeth and like, no, and then jump.
Yeah, I had the same vision.
The bunny teeth.
Well, and at the same time, Kylo is surrounded by his what do they call him?
Knights of Ren. Yeah.
So he's in a bad position, and then they're like nodding to each other. And
I was surprised that he wasn't doing better.
Is the only time in the saga that we hear them referred to as Knights of Ren? Is it when that stormtrooper says, "This is Knights of Ren"?
In a movie,
they say it. They say it in like The Force Awakens. I remember he's like somebody's talking about him as the leader of the Knights of Ren.
Oh,
Maybe. Okay. I was just like, is that?
I don't know. Really? I'm not exactly sure what it is.
I think you are right.
But I have heard it before.
So, but they end up using the power that they have shown they are capable of doing of passing physical objects. Connection.
Yeah.
She passes Luke's lightsaber off to Ben. And he ends up taking out all of the Knights of Ren.
Or was it Leia's? I didn't know.
Well, we know Leia's when we see it. It's that gold one. That
was Rey's at the end.
That was Rey's.
She made her own.
Yeah. Oh shit! Okay, I'm sorry.
Leia's was like
that's amazing.
Like it had. It looked a lot like Luke's.
She like twisted at the top, like it's like a dial.
No, it was badass.
When she at the end, when she has the cross, those are Luke's and Leia's.
Fuck! Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, this got way better.
What did you think the lightsaber was?
I don't know.
I was starting to think I was starting to lose track of what lightsabers were what.
It can't be the same color.
So they're the same color, and then she after Ben comes in, they get pwned by the Emperor.
Oh, big time!
Who says, "Yeah, you guys think you're a big deal," and then he sucks the life force out of himself, out of them, and makes himself younger.
Grows his fingers back.
Yeah.
His fingers grow back. He becomes the Emperor again.
His eyeballs come
back. He gets that yellow in his eyes.
He changes his plan on the fly. Instead of like her becoming the Empress, he's like, you know what? Fuck this. I'll just become the Emperor again.
Throws
you fools.
Throws the Skywalker dude down the blue hole.
Which again never kills anybody.
No.
Which you knew was coming back.
Have we learned nothing?
Yeah.
Did anybody catch though? Because I was thinking, I was like, in all of these movies, nobody got their hand cut off. But she says the line. She's like, I'm not going to cut his hand off. Like,
oh, I missed that.
I swear she says that line at some point because that, that's like a running theme that happens over and over and over again in the first six. And so. Yeah, so it just I'm sorry that jumped out at me, but I remember her saying like I'm not going to cut his hands off over this,
Oh, interesting. I don't remember.
That's what I missed. I think.
No rails on a catwalk, you're in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. So he gets the life force sucked out, and then
that was a great moment.
And then,
but it becomes dark in him.
He fires the bolts in the sky.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, and
that's beautiful.
And that's when and then the resistance is losing it. Like everybody's losing at this point. Like
the magnetic energy,
even with all the new people,
all of their
they're all falling to the
Greg Grunberg dies. Just like he did when he was the pilot in Lost.
Yes. And Poe is looking around and he's watching all of his friends die and them losing.
That was tough to to see.
Well, so you brought up earlier like Poe and his lightheartedness, and he's joking with people who are capturing him. Like to see that character, just to be like have that energy drained from him, and just that look in his eye of just defeat. Like it was made that much more powerful because he's always the cocky one. Like,
well, and that has been like the message that they've been trying to beat into his head. Even Leia in The Last Jedi, you can't just go run in. You can't just like. you have to have a plan, and there's a heaviness to these choices that you make when you're a leader, and it's the first decision he makes as a leader is to rally the troops to follow Rey into this, and they're all getting wiped out, and he just is so demoralized and
that no one would come.
Yeah, exactly.
And then there's Lando,
and then they are, and he's like, I'm so he says he's like, I'm so sorry, my friends, or something like that, and you're just like, because that friend thing again, we could win, and I thought we could win. And you're just like, fuck, Niagara Falls again? And then you hear like, but there's more of us than them, friend. And and
his laughter.
And that more of us, because I know we have said that to each other, like in this dark shit that's going on. Like we have said that to each other. There's always more of that. Remember, there's more of us than there are of them. And then they said that, and then it's like really Niagara Falls. Shit, that was good. Right. And there's a million ships, like, and they ask like, who are these people? Like, where? And they're like, they're just people.
Yeah, they're like, I didn't know they had a navy. He's like, it's not a navy, it's just people.
Yeah,
that was like a weird line.
Yeah, it is a little odd, but I think I know what they meant.
Just everyday folks coming to fight, this insurmountable fight.
Like Dunkirk or some shit.
Yeah. And Wedge Antilles fucking shows up again. Yeah. And then I'm like nostalgic again. Like fucking Wedge Antilles is there. Shit.
There were great twists, just keeping you on your edge of your seat.
So Rey comes back from the dead, though, and is able to.
The what the Emperor does to he throws Ben off into the abyss,
right?
And I guess her when she gets both lightsabers and crosses them, and basically just using his own energy to burn him up, also kills her.
Right.
The effort kills her.
Brought back by
Indiana Jones,
asking
like the melting of the Ark of the Covenant.
Well, before that, she's brought back by.
Calling out says, "Are you with me? Are you with me? Are you with
Be with me, be with me, be with me."
Yeah,
right.
We hear so many amazing voices.
Yeah.
From Samuel L. Jackson to they got Alec Guinness in there somehow, saying Rey. The
young Anakin.
Oh,
Yoda.
Really? Is that what you heard?
Yeah, Qui-Gon.
I heard too. Like, there's very interesting things in those little oral collages they do. Yeah. Like, I don't remember which thing it was, but I heard it explicitly this time. Not that I'd seen this before, but I heard Luke say, "He told me you killed him." So clearly. Those things. Anytime those little montages of sound come up, there's some very interesting things in them.
Did you hear Hayden Christensen in there?
Yeah, yeah.
He
was pretty loud. He was
in there a few times, and he was the one like Rey. Rey, this is you.
He was driving it.
Really. That was a really nice touch.
And I'm glad.
It was
never
his human
tease a
voice.
Senator.
Guy.
You were supposed to be the chosen one.
Oh, that gets me though.
I
Don't bring that up.
I failed you. I hate you. You are my brother, Anakin.
Don't say that. I can't deal with that. That's all you need is that 3 minutes. You don't need those 3 movies. You just need those 3 minutes. Oh my God.
I failed you.
And then you'd be like, I can imagine that relationship, and that's enough.
Yeah.
That part is devastating.
Yep.
The rest of them are terrible.
So it's after Lando arrives is when
that's when
Emperor does the lightning, because it's that whole fleet.
Oh yeah, and
so that was another turn
into the heavens or whatever.
And he essentially cripples that entire fleet of all these ships that they were just astounded.
And that's
were
where
there.
Rey was looking up and seeing all that.
Yeah,
and that's where she gets she calls upon everybody else, and it's like
stars
connecting
just
with.
the
I don't know if she was connecting with
you
all the desperation or all just the energy of everybody caught in that electricity.
Yeah,
she was able to.
Yeah,
that's how I took it.
It's like everyone was, when in Return of the Jedi, when Luke is, under the lightning bolts, basically, and Darth Vader has to save him. It's like all of the ships were like Poe's X-wing fighter is they're all engulfed in that. And when she's trying to move beyond it, like when she kind of centers herself, she literally moves through it into the clearness of space.
Yeah, that was so beautiful.
Beautiful.
Oh
yeah.
It felt like a human looking up at the stars at a very dark night, where you can see the colors of the stars and the flickering of the the cinematography is so great in this last trilogy.
Oh God, yeah.
And that's J.J. Abrams. I really think that the set up of all the framing was really well done, and that's
Gorgeous.
J.J. Abrams.
Yeah.
I think did a fantastic job with that. So she bolsters and rallies, takes Palpatine on, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And like a force lightning duel, like she's using the lightsaber. I guess probably Luke's.
I would say Luke's.
Who can tell?
I'm not sure which one was which by that point.
You have to know by the Holt.
Yeah, the hilt. Yeah.
Hilt.
Yeah.
So she's blocking it with one.
Yeah.
And then at the last second pulls the second Leia saber out.
And she's right. And she's like, you're right.
And she's got it crossed, and now it's both of them. And
and she's got all the power of all the Jedi behind her, and he's got all the Sith. And it's just
begins to melt his face.
Yeah, and then it gets
disintegrates him, literally disintegrates him, which is essentially what Mace Windu started, right? Like he turned he turned the Emperor's lightning back on him, and that's what disfigured him.
Yeah.
And then she finished that with the lightsaber. So he gets disintegrated.
He's gonna be ugly as shit when he comes back in episode 12.
I have died before.
But it's so great.
This is all part of my plan.
Yeah.
Because there's that whole thing, like all he wants is hate. Like he wants her to hate him and strike him down, and she's like, "I won't hate even you."
Now I am sentient dust, here to rule the galaxy.
But he's basically consumed by his own hate.
Yeah.
So it's
Right back at you.
Yeah. Instead of her somehow, because there is that, like with all sort of violent, combat and whether it's honorable and or otherwise, like you're talking about taking people's lives.
Like the cycle of life, and maybe you were physically abused or sexually abused. Are you going to carry that on, or are you going to choose another way?
Right.
Yeah.
And she was choosing another way. She was choosing the other way rather than giving in to what she was taught or who she was.
Her blood, that he's threatening her with, like, this is who you are. She's like, no, I'll show you who I am.
And it sucked out the last of her energy to defeat him, to the point that she's like wide-eyed dead.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, she's dying,
and of course, I thought that was going to be it, too.
Yeah. And then this is where it started to get, and then Kylo, you see his hand, or Ben Solo, you see his hand from the abyss.
Shocking.
That he had fallen.
Rise of the Skywalker.
But that's his ultimate redemption. He does what she did to him.
Yeah.
He heals her.
And
gives all of his energy.
And then what happens?
She kisses him.
They lock in a gaze, and all the will they, won't they. What is it? Raylo comes to be.
Oh man.
And I actually I was cringing a little bit, but just their playfulness and like their awkwardness.
Yeah,
it's like this is how this would be because they've had this weird fucking relationship.
Inbred force,
force babies. Like I could have done without the kiss and that, but it's like a nice send off.
It's been a love pentagon. This whole trilogy has really been a love pentagon, as many sides as it needs. Because you throw a Rose in there, you throw this new chick.
I think you were reading, because I don't think Poe was ever in it for anybody that we saw. Because I think he's
in it for whomever.
Love interest in any.
I think that Kerry Russell character.
That's probably his choice. Yeah,
like that's funny at the end.
That's his Leia.
Gave her that other look.
Oh yeah, that would be the one he would want.
Yeah, when they say like, I don't think he's in it for anyone. I think that look says it all. Where he's just like, well, and she's like, no.
So her character, I forget the character's name, but like, so she's in the mask the entire movie except for like maybe 4 seconds.
Yeah.
And the eyes that she gives him, I'm just like, that was great acting.
Yeah.
And just like,
when she asks him if she wants to run with, like if he wants to run with her.
Yeah, and she just gives him just like, I mean, it's just a couple seconds, like a look of just
Yeah, she's amazing.
Deep connection.
If you don't want to watch Felicity, watch The Americans. That's an astounding series in which she's like a grown-up, badass, amazing person.
Yeah. Amazing show about marriage.
Yeah, actually, did you watch it? It is. Yeah, fucking A. Yeah.
So Kylo Ren gives all of his life energy to bring Rey back.
Ben Solo,
sorry.
Thank you.
Due respect.
And just after they kiss, he lays down and essentially dies.
And he kind of knew that was happening.
And he does that one with the Force thing,
He became, and because he fully redeemed himself, he disappeared. And at the same time, his redemption gave Leia redemption, so she was able to become one with the Force, and she
What did she need redeemed?
I think she beat herself up thinking
over Ben. The raising of Ben, including not telling him about.
Yep.
She was beating herself up that whole. Yeah.
Yes.
See, I was like, was her spirit still occupying him?
Oh, that could be too, because I like that.
And that creeped me out a little bit, but
and that would that make his choices that pure? Then if she was the one.
I think you're right, because Obi-Wan disappeared right away, and then he started talking to Luke.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the maybe it is about redeeming yourself, because that's why Obi-Wan disappears.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Redemption is a big piece of it. I mean, that's how Darth Vader is able to become a Force, like become one with the Force, because he kills Palpatine at the last. Wow. He chooses.
He tries to kill Palpatine.
Right. Let's get back to this.
Thanks, Twinkie.
What do you feel about Palpatine being back? Are we just gonna let that go?
I love how Twinkie. There were like 2 hours ago. He's like, "Are we gonna talk about?"
Yeah. We still haven't talked about it.
I do feel like it's a little Deus Ex Machina in my it's an easy fix, but if you if you look at, that's one of the reasons that I have a lot of problems suspending disbelief with the prequels, is like that was a decades long con, like
right,
and for him to become the Emperor, but it's like if he played that con, this con would totally be feasible, like.
Well, it's like Luke says
he did get away with it, and it's. I mean, his plan has come to fruition over, it'd be like 30 years now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And so it would totally be feasible. And I think this was all a contingency,
it wasn't part of the plan from the start.
Right.
His initial plan was for Anakin to be better. And then this was a contingency, but it was a contingency that, he had in mind from the start.
Yep.
Because he built this fleet out there.
Yep.
Pretty early on. I mean, before the events of New Hope, long before.
So.
Well, and there's the whole thing that again from Last Jedi, where Luke says several times, or various people do, no one's ever really gone, and that includes.
That's how they say that the dead are speaking.
Yeah, Palpatine, unfortunately.
Did I read somewhere that JJ had that line in mind when he first got the
dead are speaking?
He had that maybe for this episode 9 in mind is.
Oh, maybe.
I might just be making that up. Sorry, I cut you off, Twinkie, too, I think.
Oh, no, I was just saying, I'd love to hear people, who wrote the script or who work at Lucasfilm or whatever, just talk about it and give their viewpoint as to how they ended up with this Palpatine back.
Is this commentary not doing it for you?
Our theories.
I mean, all this uninformed bullshit that is this podcast. I enjoy. But if you can go find a podcast where they actually know what they're talking about.
Is that a wild conjecture? Not enough.
Yeah.
The two that I watched were Mike Zero on YouTube, and then Star Wars Theory. Those are the two that I kind of watched, and I stopped watching a couple weeks ago. When they
started getting spoilerific.
Yeah, and I was just like, you know what? You're not spoiling this for me. You're not ruining the joy.
Moto, it warms my heart so much that your process of dealing with us geeking out over this, you're like, I got to get on board with this.
I'm gonna quit my job. I'm gonna geek out over this.
Jumped in head first, and you're like, yeah, this fucking Star Wars is fucking awesome, right?
And it is, man. It all deserves multiple viewings and more research, and it's just that fucking deep. I mean, how many stories are that great where you got to go that deep?
That you can have 6 dudes sitting around drinking beer for 3 hours talking about one movie,
beautiful men that I will never take it in the back anymore from.
So we are in the home stretch now at this point. So
I wonder if Double D's got to say his dissenting thoughts.
Yeah, what have we covered all the stuff that
we've been
like
sucking
has
the
been
dick of this movie.
Well, and just so we're right at the point now.
We have been sucking the dick of this movie.
Where Finn, redirects this cannon back up towards the command bay, and his new love interest, who he just said goodbye to Rose, his other love interest. It just, I don't know. It's just so forced. I don't know why they have to make all these new people. Why they have to try to force this kind of a romantic love story in, and there's no reason why they couldn't have just like had some kind of that connection of, okay, well, I was a stormtrooper, you were a stormtrooper, so we can do this as stormtrooper buddies or whatever, as opposed to be like buddy buddies or whatever. I don't understand why they have to take it to that. Why they have to
Are
hint
we
at this
imprinting
kind
that
of,
on there though? Did they really have any romantic like chemistry?
Well, she's like, "Oh, I'm going to stay with you," and he's like, "Rose," and she's like, "Finn," like, and
The
she's
Rose
like,
and Finn thing is like super, like that's the one I don't understand.
I get it from her perspective because he's the legendary Finn or whatever.
Sure. So she idolizes him and kind of has like a crush on him.
But I love that beat too, where she's like, as soon as she knows he's trying to escape, she's like, "Whoa, fuck you!"
Yeah, you're a fucking asshole.
Yeah. I see the same thing. Like, I think there's this weird in these newer movies. There's this really lovely, like, I guess we'll just say platonic. There's this like love is not necessarily sexualized, like between say Poe and Finn or whatever. Like there's a strong bond.
Yes.
But they do like to dance around the romantic thing, and I think it's most pronounced with Finn. Like just like you're saying, with so many different people. I think we are projecting it, but I don't think we're not helped along a little bit.
Well, and I think that's because I do believe he loves Rey. And as much shit as I say, like he wants to say it's because he's force sensitive, I believe he wants to tell her he loves her.
Yeah, we all love her, of course.
Well,
he says.
But then don't introduce
guys?
Rose and have that connection with Rose, and don't introduce this other chick, the horse.
But does that make his love for Rey more tragic? That there's all these other women that are infatuated with him that he has no eyes for. Like maybe that's what their purpose is.
But he has eyes for her. Like with Rose, he carries her back and like lays her down.
That's true, I guess. Yeah,
I mean he's just a good guy.
Yeah.
He's a good guy.
It is. The romantic thing is just, I fucking hate that part of it. Like in these new movies, like
really,
I like.
Didn't we have that in the original trilogy?
Yeah,
but it was.
There were Team Luke and Team Han. Yeah,
it pays off. It pays off.
With the plot device of making one of them her sibling.
After making out, yeah.
So the payoff was the kiss between.
But that's something. You're right. I want the effort. Like, Rose is actually your cousin.
Throw it out there.
Here's a good question. Like, so the kiss between Rey and Kylo Ren totally threw me off.
Oh, I hated it too.
I hated it too.
Yes.
I didn't see any romantic chemistry between the two. It was rivalry and
I mean, it was a deep connection.
There was some awkward.
It was very, very deep.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean...
To me, it would have been a better payoff for her to, like, finally kiss Finn.
Yeah.
No, don't kiss anybody. Save that shit.
That too,
if you were going to do it, though, it would have been a more payoff for it to be Finn and not to be Kylo Ren, because then it just feels like, oh, well, they just are romantic because they had this big bond. No, isn't it a cooler storytelling that they could have that big bond and not have to be romantic?
Yeah. Right. What is the... Dave, anybody help me out. There's the U2, the Bono song where he sings about romantic love versus...
The
whatever.
Miracle Drug, where I've had enough of romantic love.
Yeah, and it's just like...
give it up.
Yeah. Like, form this deeper connection with humanity and with life, and... Like,
and so then don't have her kiss fucking Kylo Ren.
Right.
Don't kiss anybody.
Don't
kiss anybody.
Luke didn't kiss
everything
anybody.
that came before.
Yeah, Luke never gets to kiss.
That was very kissed him.
Yeah, but that was very conscious. I learned in these, like, going back to some of these like older commentaries or cobbled together like that. They just felt that would have complicated matters to give Luke romantic entanglement.
Yeah.
Oh. If it would have complicated
like it would
his character.
things giving Leia a bra.
It would complicate our ability to see her nipples.
Yeah. If Rey leans in and puts her head to Kylo's and sheds a tear, or to Ben, sorry, and like sheds a tear.
That would be
that's how that
totally like
that could end that way.
Yeah.
Like that's cool.
And he would have what if he would have disappeared like while they were hugging?
Right.
You know,
oh
like
my gosh.
in her arms. Sure, her arms would just
maybe he
close.
starts a little sob or like
and no romance.
No romance. There was no romance this whole thing.
Yeah.
It's always been just this battle back and forth of good and evil, trying to bring out the best in each other, and then it becomes a romantic thing.
It was a little weird.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like that out of all of it, that's the piece, her kissing Kylo Ren is the piece I didn't like.
Yeah.
Like, I don't, it feels like all of the other stand-up choices that they made with these trilogies on that romance piece and fitting these like established archetypes, it feels like a cheat that they went with that one, you know, like, I didn't like that. I just... That's the piece I didn't like.
Maybe it's like a free love thing. Like we should all be kissing each other.
Well, I mean, they did have that triple hug at the end. Like she hugged like Finn and Poe at the same time.
Oh, I do too. Kind of. I've been thinking that for a while.
Do we want to take a break? Let's just take a break and give everybody a pee break.
I see the need for the defectors. You need Finn. You need the other correspondent that was also a defector. And Hux, I see the need for that, but the love piece is a little different.
The love thing is just like it's
sexual love.
If they're just driving through all of these big, when do they have fucking time to also fall in when you're down to your last 200 people against the rest of the fucking oppressive galaxy.
That's when it's time to get it done.
I don't know. No Phasma. Like who said they hated Phasma too? That was another thing. Like there was no Phasma. I was waiting. I kept waiting for Phasma to show up, and she never did.
Wasn't she killed off in?
Or was it
she
left
fell
ambiguous?
Down
she fell down a hole, but it was.
Independence Day.
It's like how many people fell down holes in these movies, and then they show up in another episode? Like.
Time warp.
Yeah.
Let's do the time.
All right, let's take a break.
This is fun.
I'm gonna keep it going. I mean, it's recording.
It's astounding. Time is fleeting. Madness takes its toll. But listen closely.
Not for very much longer.
I've got to keep control. I remember doing the time war, drinking those moments when the blackness would hit me and the void would be calling. Let's do the time war again. Let's do the time war.
Where were we when I fled?
We were talking about
these guys are on the internet. What are you finding?
I'm not.
No, I'm not saying it's
What's
bad,
out
but I'm sure you're seeing things that are.
Oh no, I was just
love
looking through various.
Are people happy about this?
Than I do.
No, I think there's all mixed.
Yeah,
you know,
and that's
response.
I think that's how it's gonna be. I actually
People
haven't.
will enjoy it, and then they'll feel guilty about enjoying it, and they'll have to rip it.
What the fuck is up with that? Why can't they why do they have to tear it down?
That's not just Star Wars fans. That's the internet.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, because I guarantee within a month there'll be a red letter review on this, and it'll be about how terrible it is.
That's that guy's brand.
Yeah,
It's amazing. Like what's important to the internet today is irrelevant a week from now.
yeah.
It's people are so fickle anymore. It's like don't make an album, make a single.
Yeah.
Because they'll forget about your album in a week.
Oh yeah.
And it's just because fuck man, when we grew up, albums were it. I mean,
Right.
albums were something to dig into. There's no digging into anything.
And I at least want to be able to dig into my own stuff.
Yeah.
And like what I'm doing.
Well,
Like,
that's one of the beauties of this whole thing. It's like whole fucking like saga. It's like rich.
Yeah, it's so
She's
deep.
rich.
It's too deep for the internet.
Sorry, I always thought that was very sexual when I was a kid. When Luke says to Han as an appeal to
rich.
like, yeah, she's like, she's rich.
oh yeah.
More well than you can imagine. No, I can imagine quite a lot.
I don't want. Yeah, because I dropped that line when the. So, all right, she kisses Ben. They win. Everything is a happy ending.
Force is balanced.
Yeah. Here, talk about great cinematography and awesome shots. This was a fantastic shot.
Nobody was talking about that. we were talking about how stupid it was that they kissed.
But earlier in our conversation, we talked about great cinematography.
It's come up before, but not right now.
But
so
the
talking
shot
about
when Finn says, "I'm just going to stay on this ship," like he's going to go down with the ship, and she decides she's going to stay with him. But as that's falling, and the Millennium Falcon comes up, and they jump onto it, just that. The scale of that Star Destroyer, like crashing into the ground, and they're jumping off of it while it's crashing. Not that it's just about to crash or whatever. Like they're still jumping off of it and riding it while it's crashing into the ground. The way they were able to show that scale was very impressive.
I agree. On multiple scenes throughout the movie.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like the Death Star wreckage, that was another one that like. I feel like those waves were generated because of the gravity caused by that Death Star. So much of that Death Star wreckage being in that ocean, like that was generating those waves.
Well, they said they could go out the next day because the waves would be a little bit cooler.
That's true too. I guess. Sorry.
Maybe.
So thanks, science.
Sorry,
but maybe the forces.
Well, and as far as science goes. Like when they jump on the Millennium Falcon and then it like takes off because it's going to have to.
The inertia,
they're going to be thrown off and they're going to die anyway. Yeah. So they needed to figure out the Millennium Falcon needed to get there a little quicker and maybe like put the landing gear down, or maybe not the landing gear, but just the ramp that they could have jumped onto or something like that. But jumping on the top and then having it take off, I was like. Were they holding on to the outside shell of the Falcon?
That was cool when Poe was like, I can't get there fast enough. He's like, this can.
Yeah.
How about a Colt 45?
Billy. So then they cut back to the planet that they all started on, that they were hiding out on, and they're celebrating. I like the nod to the Ewoks, like they showed the Ewoks on there in that celebration. I like that. Chewbacca gets his medal. Like if that's not fan critique service, like you know how everybody at the end of New Hope got a medal, and she like intentionally walks up and just hands Chewie a medal like for it, and
he's deserving.
He's so grateful for it, and
I kind of wanted the walk down the thing with the crowd of people.
Oh yeah, no, that would have been
a little wink and
the cardboard cutouts at the back.
Yeah. I was like, are we gonna get that? Is this for real? I love it.
That would be nice.
But
No, and then so that celebration happens. That's where the awkward thing where Rey doesn't know which woman he wants to talk to.
Wait, Rey?
Oh, Finn. Sorry.
Everyone's kind of waiting for Rey, though.
Yeah. And she shows up, so her, Poe, and Finn all do a triple hug, which makes me think maybe the romance in the background is like that's just the three. Like it is a polyamorous thing, like between the three of them.
I'm usually like such a dirty old man, but I don't like to sexualize Rey. It's weird.
This is the thing. Like we have to project it. Like we're so ingratiated into that trope.
Yeah.
We have to put romance on that. We can't let there be.
I was willing to. I think
I don't want to, but we want that.
We're like, oh, they're doing this, aren't they? But we're not. Yeah. None of us were people that wanted it. Like there are people online that are like, this needs to happen.
Sure. No. Yeah.
Like that is the story of these first two movies. Is will they, won't they between Kylo and Rey? Yeah. And they want that resolved more than anything.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, it's so
in the positive, like. And then they want the person to die because we all want that in these series and these things that we watch. And then as soon as they get together, you're like, this show's gonna suck now, because all that sexual tension's done. And then, but they did it here. They just killed him. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's not like afterwards she's flying back and crying.
Yeah.
Or she gets back and lands and she's upset. It's just kind of like, carry on.
Yeah.
We've won.
She
and
wanted to go back to her main home.
that's why it's
and
like
slide down that hill. That was.
I think they found peace together.
I mean, if I were to interpret the kiss maybe just slightly different, it's just that it is a product of just the tension of the time and
Oh yeah.
I did think that too.
rather than like a super sexual kiss, as much as it's just a lot just happened,
Right.
and here we are, and
Like
I mean,
Keanu Reeves
we've all
and
been
Sandra
there,
Bullock.
am I right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm smoking hot. You're smoking hot. We're both force sensitive.
Yeah.
Let's find out.
That's
Wait, I have a good theory here. So if we're going with
I don't know.
that Rey healing Kylo Ren is what caused him to switch back to the light side because it was literally injecting him.
Oh, I think he was already on the way there with Leia's.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. So if that's what we're going with,
But I think that sealed it.
I let me finish this
Okay.
though. So if that's what he's going with, what if Kylo Ren heals her? She's just expressing his love for her. That's why she kisses him.
Oh, that's
It's like Rose kissing Finn.
Like she's overcome with those emotions because she's like has his energy.
Oh, I think I follow now.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't think she loves anybody. I
Whoa.
You know what I mean? Like in a romantic way. Like,
Yeah.
and everybody's in love with her.
I don't think he did her either.
You don't think?
That
was his obsession with
Yeah,
her.
No,
Like,
I got the sense from the kiss that they were on the same page.
oh man,
And it was
I don't know.
something.
Double D.
Well, so,
He raised his hand.
so
And double D.
As a teacher.
yeah, gosh, I don't know. I'm still struggling. So Poe, so the chick that they meet on kombucha, right, or whatever we're going with.
Kombucha. Yeah.
So
yourself.
she asks him to run away with her.
Yeah.
Like she's like, "Come with me, like you and me together." And then at the end, when he's like, "Hey, let's do this," she's like, "No."
Yeah.
Like what the like? How is that?
That
Like
was
that
bullshit.
was that's a. I mean, if you want to do any kind of
it's toxic.
man,
Because it's a galaxy far, far away, doesn't it?
if you want to have any kind of a,
Like, look
a
at Han and
romantic
Leia's
relationship,
relationship.
make that work.
I mean,
Yeah,
Jesus.
that would have been the payoff.
make that
would
work.
have been
That could be your
Yeah.
payoff.
Pretty high stakes with the end of the
I don't think
galaxy
you
and
want
stuff. You might as well.
See, I'm happy
take
that
your
nobody
shot.
ended up with anybody, except for there was a same-sex kiss.
yes, that's
Oh
correct.
yeah, but that.
Which is,
I'm sure that was
Background.
established. Yeah.
but
Not
that's
new.
the only really seemingly romantic
Yeah, I think.
end.
Very true.
I mean,
thought
there were
that the
suggestions
alien
to it.
lady, who's the badass with the goggles,
Oh,
Oh, Maz, yeah.
Katana.
she
Yeah.
got something for Chewie, didn't she?
Oh.
Yeah,
my
she called him her
favorite-
boyfriend. Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Where's my boyfriend?
I thought she was gonna make a move on him.
that.
Yeah.
Maz fucks, man. Like
Oh,
that's
yeah.
what we learned from.
She's as old as Yoda. Like she's been around as long as Yoda. Of
Remember
course
when
she did.
When she's talking about that one code breaker, she's like, he can do anything.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Was that sexual?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Super. Watch that again. Yeah.
Watch that again.
Oh no, I know what you're talking.
Yeah, when they
yeah,
do the
yeah.
projection, and she's
Yeah,
like in some
yeah.
battle. She's
Yeah.
like, oh.
So so the last scene then after that celebration is they go back to Tatooine. They go to the moisture farm.
They is Ray.
Ray goes to the moisture farm. She pulls out. You see where this whole and what's nice is you see where all of it started, and that doesn't matter if you started with episode 1 or you started with episode 4. You go back to where all of it started, which is Tatooine, and she takes out. You see this very ceremonious. She puts Luke's saber down. She puts Leia's saber down. She ties them together, and then uses the Force to bury them on the location of the farm, and then the title is finally like you realize the title because a straggler comes up and asks who she is, and she said, "My name is Rey," And earlier, and this is from earlier in the movie, somebody asked, "What's your surname?" And she said, "I don't have one."
She said it here again, or
earlier in the movie when
just Ray,
just Ray, and so that happens again with this new character, and there's a long pause, and we know she's a Palpatine, but she chooses to say she's a Skywalker.
Yeah, when Luke and Leia appear as Force ghosts, kind of looking over her.
Yeah.
And yeah, she says it all proud. She adopts it, basically. She's like, she makes that choice.
Yeah. Yes. Which is the ultimate, like, fuck you to Palpatine. Like, you're not going to live on at all, you know? By name or anything. And I'm gonna adopt this so she is the next Skywalker.
I also thought the title referred to Ben, the Rise of Skywalker. Kind of the redemption thereof.
And the rise of Leia, too, because she gets her redemption so she can become one with the Force. Like, there's multiple Skywalkers coming to fruition.
When she was so in love with Ben and because they kissed at the end.
Oh, shit.
They're going to have Skywalker babies.
Yeah, Skywalker babies and all kinds of stuff.
That would have been terrible. I would have been so pissed.
Talk about
she keeps saying, like, be with me. Is that, like, biblical? Like, she's, like, to Ben the whole time. She's like, be with me. Be with me.
Oh, man. I can't do this.
I don't know if you guys have seen the Star Wars holiday special, but where Chewbacca's mom, dad, somebody puts on, like, a hairdryer and basically jerks off to some, like, seductress singer. Yeah. Jeez. I mean, they don't jerk off, but, like, it's a very... It's a fucked up, like, if you haven't seen the Star Wars holiday special, which I hadn't, and I haven't even finished it, because I don't even know what to do with it, but you got to see it. But that's part of it, like, a seductive, like, woman, like...
So, Long Walkers, after we get done recording this, we're going to go watch the Star Wars holiday special.
And jerk off.
With the hairdryer. Shit.
All right, we got distracted there. But, like, it fades out on, or like, you do that little iris close on Rey. Is BD-8 with her?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. BD-8's with her and the two sons of Tatooine.
Yeah.
Sunset. Yeah. And I thought in that moment, talking to the old lady in Tatooine, that she decided she was going to make a life here.
Oh.
In that moment.
Oh. I can see that.
I don't know. I gotta imagine her. She's going out and she's
she has shit to do.
Yeah. It seemed to me like she was coming home. Like that was a sled ride down. She's like,
but that's not. It looks like Draku or wherever she's from, okay. But it's not the same planet. Like that's the very. Because I get confused about that a lot. Like. She's from another desert planet.
She is coming home, her new home, her adopted home.
It had that feeling.
It did, yeah. I
love that. She has the new lightsaber made out of the handle from her staff.
It was made out of the handle. Yeah,
Jesus. Yeah, it's wooden.
And apparently nobody knew of
parts of it.
Like she had built it and was just holding it back this whole time.
I think there was a gap of time from the ending.
Agreed.
And she built that lightsaber. She finished her training herself and built that lightsaber.
And then took
and this was her closure of all of that.
Right. Okay.
Which I don't know. I kind of would have liked for the Jedi to end. It would have been interesting to show balance with the Sith being gone. That she maybe chooses to not continue training or something.
Yeah.
Just so that there's a little more finality, but the
Jedi
continue.
What do you think it means?
Well, now there's no balance.
Like that's.
Didn't she bury all three or just the two?
Like
she kept the one.
What does it mean to bring balance?
Twinkie, do you think like maybe she continued on, but she didn't consider herself a Jedi even, like because there is this like duality that she embraced?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Right.
Maybe that's what the next like 10, 11, and 12
if you kill Darth Vader, there is no sequel, so maybe that's their way of leaving it.
Yeah. Oh, that's true.
Well, she says I'm a Skywalker. That's like, I'm not a Jedi. I'm not nobody. I'm a Skywalker. I think that could be the start of.
Yeah.
So what's the dark side though?
To the Force, like.
I don't know.
Because your Emperor's gone.
Yeah, all the Sith supposedly died.
Right.
That's kind of nice though. If they're gonna reboot any of it, like I hope they keep our new heroes And I hope they give them a new foe to fight. That's not just
don't wait 30 years to start them again.
Not just like a planet killer or like whatever.
But enough time for people to build anticipation, build things in their own mind.
Sure.
And just every year. Not every year a new
I see this as being the end of the timeline for a while. A long while. That's good. They're gonna backfill.
I also see a lot.
Because the Sith has done the galactic order that we know of.
That would be more enjoyable than
so let's unpack that world.
Yeah.
And then we'll reintroduce maybe in another 10, 15, 20 years. These characters, they're older. We see what Rey's been up to. We see what the whole cast has been up to. And just... Like, I just don't see, like, wanting to see what happened next. Like, a lot of people didn't want after Return of the Jedi. It's like...
Yeah. You did a good job.
Yeah, like, this is... That... Like times 1,000.
Sure.
Like that whole Sith planet with all the, all that shit. It's like this is real. Like you're destroying this. You're not destroying some Death Star. Some.
Right.
Like this
you're
is the end of
1,000 Death Stars. Like
and I see it as Rey saying like, there's like I'm done with that violence. I'm done with that conflict, and the balance that I need is being by myself and connected to this force and this life that she gets from that place, which has its holy ground, right, for the Skywalker.
Yeah, and her new family, like that. Even the Emperor was throwing that at her, like your new family will die, and these people. And
she's
her new family.
Saying no. This is part of that rejection. Yeah, this is.
We didn't even touch on what I feel was the biggest cop out of this whole trilogy, is that her parents were Palpatine's son. We touched on
that. We never knew.
That we never knew. They were never introduced at any point in any story. Like they were never.
That's why I have to rewatch the prequels.
Yeah. No, but I don't. They weren't a part of the.
Think so.
You have to assume he had some kind of family, to like. But
they're never shown. I don't think like a little.
It's just so weird that's where she came from. I remember there was this fan theory when Force Awakens happened, and somebody was like, she holds her lightsaber like Palpatine does.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Oh, shit.
She does this thing where
I wonder if that's intentional.
When she first picked... It has to be.
That's why a lot of people, after Force Awakens, a lot of the people who were like, she's a Palpatine, they pointed to that.
Yeah.
How she just instinctively like had that same fighting style.
He does this thing in episode 3 where he pulls back like he's like swinging up like this and then charges forward with it.
Yeah.
And she does it with her staff earlier in the movie. And then when she finally gets a lightsaber in her hand, that's her instinct is to pull it up like this. So
that was all intentional. That was all
intentional.
Like, the notion that this story wasn't basically set in stone from the start, and that there's this huge disconnect between JJ and Ryan Johnson.
It's all false.
No.
Because and now I want to go back and watch Force Awakens and just watch those scenes and just see that and be like, oh, yep, there it is. That it is definitely there. I mean, I know it's there. I'm just saying, like, good homage to those or good payoff for those people that were able to point that out.
I think it was the way that they wrapped up Ben Solo's arc. Because, like, when we were talking before we went to the movie, Krams said something about, like, after all he's done, do we really just want to see him get redeemed? And he's just going to be by their side after all the horrible shit he's done? So it was nice that you can kind of have a redemptive arc, but without, like, him just being like, oh, it's fine, then all the bad things.
There's no way he would have been able to be accepted by by their people. So it was a great way to get rid of that awkwardness. Or that you would not have been able to suspend disbelief that everybody would have been like, oh, by the way, everybody, this isn't Kylo Ren. This is Ben Solo. So he's our friend now. They would, and that would have been really, that would have been something worth complaining about.
And it's interesting, too, that he chose to, like, sacrifice himself in light of what... So I would always heard that Harrison Ford wanted to be killed off early in this series.
Yeah.
And I guess I never really thought too much about why that might be, or what. I guess I just thought maybe he didn't like it. Star Wars or whatever.
He also thought there needed to be a cost.
Yeah, so that's what I learned, like listening to some of this archival stuff. He's like, I thought that would be the best thing for the character who didn't have any family ties or anything, who was the least like selfless of all of them. Yeah. He was like only out for himself, and so it was like that was the best character.
And he got his redemption.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the end of Empire.
Yeah.
I mean, for sure.
And too, like his, but ultimately, it's nice that he got it and his son got it. This is like they both sacrificed themselves in different ways. But the way he did was so beautiful. Like because I don't necessarily think he knew he would go out and die when he walked on that catwalk. But definitely he was scared, you know?
Yeah.
Like that Ben, like is not a strong baritone, like Han Solo delivery. And he just went out there with total love and surrender to whatever his son's path was, which unfortunately meant his like demise. But ultimately, that was the thing that like helped him break through to make that final choice and sacrifice of his own. Like, I don't know. The whole thing was for me so very satisfying at every level, and I hope not to be talked out of that by the internet.
Yeah, just stay the fuck off it then.
Don't listen.
Yeah. All right. Anybody got any final thoughts on the movie? Final critiques? Final anything before we'll do one more. Let's go down and give final. Let's do that. Let's go down the line. Final thoughts on this Moto.
Enjoy what you got and get Disney Plus and watch Mandalorian.
Fucking A, right?
Buy your McDonald's Happy Meals and get your Star Wars merchandise.
Yeah.
That's right.
Dave, what do you think?
Never underestimate a droid.
Well played. Very good. Krams?
No, I just think it was a perfect note to end on for the series.
Excellent. Twinkie, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's a Star Wars story for Star Wars fans.
Yeah.
True Star Wars fans, yeah. Double D?
Oh, very eloquently put so far. I think you can certainly nitpick it and find some flaws and things that you're gonna like, but the things that you're not gonna like or the things that upset you, somebody else may, of course, rave about and be in love with and really enjoy. So, I mean, just take the good with the bad, and all in all, I think it was a great end.
Awesome. I think my last thing is just for a series that was founded on risk. All of this was a risk. This is like Star Wars. There was a point in this world that the Star Wars universe didn't exist. And so just greenlighting that first movie was a risk. That this one took some of the biggest risks and, in my opinion, had the biggest payoffs because of it. So
you had to go on the journey. Like Luke, he's like, I don't want to get involved.
Yeah. Yes. All the risks. Just a long line of risks, and this to me was a total payoff for all of them. So definitely check it out, and don't be swayed, or I don't even know what I'm sure it's polarized. So just go see it for yourself, like always, and make your own opinion. So
yeah.
All right.
Hopefully you saw it before this podcast.
Yeah.
Good God.
Yeah. Oh man, that's awesome. So make sure that you're following us at LWSD Pod on Twitter. Go to youtube.com/longwalkshortdrink. You can see this video. There's actual video footage that will accompany this episode 80. You can subscribe at any of your normal podcasting apps or places. Make sure you're on those respective apps and places. It would really be awesome if you threw us a bone and gave us a review. That'd be fantastic. Head over to audibletrial.com/LWSD. Start your Audible trial and download a free audiobook on us. Explore this expanded universe a little bit. Krams, you've been really like devouring this new canon expanded universe through these books, what's a good one that people could start with that you would recommend?
Oh, the Aftermath series is great.
Okay.
I just read Bloodline.
Okay.
Which is a different author, Claudia Gray, and it's about Leia, and it's. I was crying at the end of like reading the end of that book.
Okay, so
and it's also meaningful for like the plot line of the saga, like the origins of the First Order and the Resistance as well. So.
All right, so there you go. So head to audibletrial.com/LWSD and maybe you can find one of those on audio for us to find. Did you have something else? I didn't mean to cut you off. No. That's it?
No.
Trying to think if there's any other places.
Oh, you can email us if you're not a social media. LWSDpod@gmail.com.
At gmail.com.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah. Other than that, I'm Palmer.
I'm Moto.
I'm Dave.
Krams.
Twinkie.
Double D.
And we are signing off. Long Walk, Short Drink, episode 80, live from Dayton.
See you guys.
Cheers, Long Walker.
Cheers,
May the Force be with you.
Yeah. May the Force be with you.
Long walk, short drink. Long walk, short drink. You've taken that long walk, no short drink. This was a long walk, fucking short drink.
We'll get there eventually.
Let's pinball and get some goddamn pizza.
Yeah.
Oh,
You want some pizza?
Yeah.
Of course.
I thought there was gonna be some pizza.
I think they delivered.
Oh my God! It's
2:30.
Yeah.
Maybe not. I don't know.
I don't know. Like, I kept drinking those coffee drinks, so I'm like,
Yeah, no,
I mean, if there's pizza to be had, I'm not going to argue.
Oh my God. Yeah, every moment of Lando in that movie. It's just like, just laugh. How you doing, Chewbacca?
I gotta pee.